All right. So how's everybody week been going? Anybody have any type of testimonies or any situations where, we had talked about the BEAR module. We talked about setting forth a positive atmosphere, right? And how do we do that? Like I said, if you're gonna, we were being similar. We're talking about that today. It's like we teach like the different modules, as far as how to analyze our belief system, right? So that we get the right results. But at the same time, it's like you have to cultivate the atmosphere. You got to cultivate the climate. It's like I just can't read a martial arts book on how to become a black belt and then just go out and start fighting, right? Expect to win a competition. Why won't I win? Yeah, I've been practicing, I've been trained, I was always told if you have to think about blocking a punch, it's too late, right? It has to be what? It has to be off of instinct. And that's the same thing when you're dealing with anger management. We're going to go over a REACT module. Same thing. It's like if you don't have that, deep within your mindset, if you are not cultivating that all around you, and you got to think about it. A lot of times it's too late because know that life situations hit you a lot of times without warning. Somebody just snaps off, says something to you without warning, and if that's already in your program to take off on that person or to snap out at them, it could be your employer or something like that. They say something rude to you, and some people will snap off and cuss right back on their employer, and then what ends up happening? End up losing the job. Why? Yeah, they weren't prepared. Their mind wasn't prepared. They had the right tools, right? But they didn't practice utilizing the tools. And that's what I was talking about. It's like, taking those walks. Like this morning, I had a lot of things just hit me this week. Just external, family situations, things like that. But I know in the morning when I take that walk, right? I could put things in its right perspective. And even during the evening time. And it just gives you that peace. But because I've done these walks, on a consistent basis, when things hit, I could say I'm a lot of times prepared to deal with it, no matter what it is, right? That's why, because I practiced that, okay? And it's like a lot of times we're talking about many people, we're kind of programmed. And that's not an insult, but many times we're programmed as a society not to think. We just go off pre-programmed belief systems, you see? And it's like, people stay so busy and, they might just be busy listening to the radio all day, right? Or they could be busy just watching TV and these type of things. And, the reason why I keep going over this, repetition. They say repetition is the master of all teachers, right? And if you ever taken sports or martial arts, what they have you do? They have. You go to the Kings game, the Golden Warriors game. What are they doing before the game? They're doing the drills, right? Now this is stuff they've been doing since elementary school, right? Layups. They know how to make a layup, but why does the coach keep continually have them to do the same drills?
Because once they're in the game, it just happens naturally.
There it is. That's right. Because like I said, we got to get the foundation, the basics. You have to get that down, okay? So, that, like I said, we're going to move on to a new module, but I can't say enough that it has to be, like I said, we got to start practicing and cultivating a winning belief system, a winning value system. And how do we do that? How do you develop? We talked about some things. When I say value system, what does that mean to you? If I ask you, how are you going to create a winning value? What is your value system? Right? Morals, exactly. But, what type of morals? Huh? Goals. Yeah, that's within your value system, right? It should be in everybody's value system to have goals. Correct? And like I said, I've sat down and I've talked to a lot of older gentlemen. And when I'm counseling them, what is your value system? And they look at me like, what are you talking about? Right? But they find themselves in this cycle over and over and over, getting into situations, right? And they'll tell me, hey, and a lot of these are very educated people, very smart people, very articulate individuals. However, they keep running into situations in their personal life that manifest in an ugly way, right? And like I said, I've been at the jail where we have neurosurgeons in my class. Okay? Neurosurgeons, and it's like, well, what they still can't figure out. They can figure out how the brain, works, physically, biologically, and everything like that, but they don't even understand really how their own behavior works. You see? So, that's why, I created the BEAR system, so, we can go in and do an introspection. That means, analyze, how our behaviors work. And like I said, when we talk about the BEAR module, we talk about our beliefs. And like I said, I'm going to go over it over and over again. And that's one thing that I do. I always repeat myself over. You'll find that I repeat myself over and over and over. And I do that for a reason. Okay? Our beliefs, right, dictate our emotions. Our emotions dictate what? Actions. Our actions dictate our results. So the main thing is you have to find out what are the beliefs. And remember, we talked about maybe finding a situation that ended in a negative result, and then backtrack. Why would you do that? Why would you backtrack from that?
See what happened.
See what happened, yeah. Okay. I hit this dude in the mouth, or I cuss my boss out, or maybe deal with your spouse. How did that happen?
To see where you went.
Yeah, exactly.
Where was the turning point for you?
Right. They said this, because a lot of times people say, well, they said this, and I just smacked them. Why'd you do that? I don't know. No, there's a reason why you did that, but a lot of times maybe their mind is on autopilot. Maybe they have suppressed that belief system. Some people feel like, hey, somebody challenges me to a fight, you got to fight. Right? A lot of people have that belief system. I used to talk about that. I said, well, what if you're at the state fair, you're on parole, right? We used to go over this at the jail. So you're going to get out, you're on parole, and somebody walks over to you, maybe that you had problems with, and says, man, look, and you're with your wife or your girlfriend, and say, man, look at that little punk over there, man. So what are you going to do? And immediately some people say, man, I'll smack that fool, and whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm like, what you got? Man, no, bunks that. And then, a lot of times you'll see some other dudes, yeah, no, it ain't going down like that. We ain't no punks. We might be. Well, what is that saying? You see, they're letting somebody else pull their strings, right?
Yeah, control.
Right. We live in we're talking today, we live in a society today where what's cultivated in our society is aggressive behaviors, right? Not only in the music and the TV shows, people like the aggressiveness. That's why they like the Jerry Springer shows and things like that. They like to see drama. Drama. There it is. Drama behavior. So it's like subconsciously people are being programmed like that, right? They're watching how everybody else is responding. And a lot of times people are caught up in group thinking. That nobody wants to be, everybody's dressed this way, this is the fashion. People just naturally kind of migrate to what the fashion is, even if they don't like it. Why do I need to have this name brand? Why do you need to have that name brand? This shirt over here at Marshall's, the same looking shirt, just doesn't have the name on it. Well, that's, you're going to spend $50 more for this name shirt when this shirt looks just the same as that shirt. Well, I just want that name on it. That's how people are programmed, right? You got ladies buying $350 purses that, I had a friend of mine that worked at Nordstrom. And one time I was in a mall, met up with him, and we're by the shoes, right? Italian shoes, $200 to $400, whatever it was. He says, Ray, how much you think we get these shoes for? I'm like, man, maybe $60, $80, something like that. He said, we get them for $6. Yeah, Nordstrom's. I said, $6? These shoes going for $3. He said, we buying them for $6.
As long as they mark it up?
Yeah, and so we mark it from $6 to $200 to $400.
Big
Killed
profit.
it.
You see? But like you said, you put a fancy name on it. You know, you take it out there to Rodeo Drive in L.A., get somebody with a French accent, Italian accent, you know, to sell it, and people just are programmed. Oh, this is what I need.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
pretty
programmed,
good.
right? And they got socks for $80 on. I like going out to Rodeo Drive just to look at the prices.
Yeah.
And you know, I'll ask, well, why does this cost this much? I like to have them explain it to me why it costs so much. You know.
Yeah.
You know, that watch, why is that $7,000? You know, well, this is the finest quality. Woo, 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 woo. Really? I mean, it just looks like a regular digital watch. You know, I mean, they got some like cheap looking stuff for these outrageous prices because they understand, right? How a lot of times we talked about, you know, how a lot of times there's a lot of mind control going on. Remember, I showed you the sigil magic, how that type of stuff works, and a lot of times there's subliminal messages going into individuals, just like at the movie theater we talked about. A lot of times you're watching them spinning circles and things like that, and it's telling you to get popcorn and sodas and everything like that, and all of a sudden before the movie, oh, I need to go out and get some popcorn. You see, they're playing off the subconscious mind. And that's what I'm saying, and that's why we do these classes, just kind of bringing awareness to that, you know. And I got a cliche, we're going to think about what you think about, right? You got to think about, well, it doesn't make any sense. Well, what do you think I mean when I say that? Think about what you think about,
Yeah.
right? You know, before you think about buying that, think about why you want to buy that. Well, you know, that's what everybody else is getting. I'll look cool in this, you know. Well, why is that? Just because it has that name on it? Like, for example, that clothing line Pink. You can get anything. I mean, they get any tie. They get some old pajamas from a swap meet or something like that and just stamp Pink on it, and women will buy it for $85, right? They will. $100, you know. They do it all day long, right? Just put Pink on it, that's all. And it's not even pink, but they just put Pink on it, and people will just buy anything. You see? And a lot of times that has to do, and some people get caught, and that could be an issue because you have some people, they feel pressured that they got to stay mainstream, right? If I'm going to get a woman, I got to have my fits, I just remember I was at working at the Department of Corrections, and this guy was telling me how he used to buy $500 jeans. And I'm like, you're lying, ain't no $500 jeans. And, you know, we went into the office, went online, I'm like, man, and he was telling me the one that, I said, why would you buy this? He's like, man, I'm telling you, when you buy that, man, you just get more respect. And I'm like, these could be knockoffs. You know, I mean, why would you spend that much money? But he was telling me how it was so important, you know, that when he gets out, he got to, you know, he can't just get a regular job, right? They got to sell their dope because the fine girls want the guys in these $400 or $500 jeans, right? So that type of person with that type of mindset, like I said, this guy getting out of prison, right? No humbleness, right? Not humble, it's kind of a prideful mindset, correct? Or insecure mindset. Now he's working, let's say he gets a job at Walmart. Is that going to satisfy him? No, because he's thinking in the back of his head, now I got to pay rent. Now I got to get those jeans, right? And they're serious. I'll work this job to keep my parole officer happy, but I got to go out there and flip this or something like that. And this guy was serious. I got to get those jeans. Then I got to get my rims. I got to have I got to have 22s with these type of this, and I got to have this type of system. And a lot of times they're looking at the videos and stuff like that, so they're thinking I got to have ice, right? And you're working at Walmart, so that's a trap, right? And they feel like I'm not up to par. Their self-esteem isn't healthy unless they have all this type of stuff, and no woman's gonna like me unless I have all this type of stuff. So they kind of trap themselves into going towards an illegal lifestyle, correct? And it starts as something as little as that, their image, their belief system, right? A woman's not going to like me unless I got a lot of money, right? And, I got to have ice. Because that's their belief system when they watch the videos. And unfortunately, you got some shallow women that think that, right? Instead of looking at a man and saying, this individual has potential, he got good values, he's going to treat me right, right? They're going to go for this knucklehead over there that doesn't care anything about anybody but himself, right? And they get with them, and then guess what happened? That woman gets with him, and then get with this narcissistic type of individual, right? And what ends up happening? She's involved in an abusive relationship because she wants nice things, right? But really, it's not worth it. But these are things, and what does that do? That has a domino effect in a person's life, right? Something as simple as that. Because some people really compare themselves with images on TV. They really compare themselves with the artists. It's like, I'm not up to par until I look, and they're not maybe saying that in their head, but subconsciously, that's what they're thinking. That's what their belief system is. And that's what gets them in trouble, right? Like, for example, for me, I mean, like I said, I grew up, I couldn't be materialistic. Some new shoes came out, you ain't. I mean, I always wanted leather shoes. You ain't getting no leather shoes. Moms would, we'd be thinking, I'm gonna get some new pants. She would take me sometimes to, garage sales and things like that. Like, we was all that poor, nothing like that, but she wasn't materialistic. It's like, no, I'm not paying no $30 for shoes. Oh, heck no, $40 for some shoes.
That's the great thing about thrift stores. You can get the name brand stuff for the cheap price.
But my mom, she would buy me stuff, and there was one person that thought I was the best dressed student at the school, and that was my 65-year-old teacher. He'd always just point me out. Ray, you just have the snazziest outfits, and I look like I came off the set of the Brady Bunch or something like that, right? I mean, I look like Bob Hope, checkered, stuff and things like that, and oh my God, I'm telling you. But it taught me to be humble, though. You know what I'm saying? And then it taught me not to be materialistic, because it was like, no, you're not going to have this, you're not going to have that, and. But see, some people, man, back in my day, it was the Jordache jeans and the Sassoon and, the Jordans and, the Air Force bomber jackets and things like that. And, But see, like you said, and you have some people, they just can understand, man, bro, you got to step your clothing game up and things like that, right? But, but see, now I don't have any problem. I go to Walmart and buy some shoes for $15, $10. I don't trip off that, I mean, I like to have don't get me wrong, I like to have some nice gear in the closet, but I'm not caught up on that. But yet I know people that, I mean, they can't buy shoes unless they're like $80. And they're broke, right? But they got to have $80, $100 shoes, and, or else like they're too embarrassed to go outside, right? I got to have the name brand clothes, I got to have this name brand. And how does that affect their life? Because they end up getting in what? In debt. Right? End up getting debt, and when they get in debt, that affects their marriage, right? Affects their kids, right? Kids need some things, but he had to get his, $120 new Jordans, right? Because I can't step outside. I got to have some pride for myself, right? But see, like I said, it goes back to the value system. And see, within my belief system, my personal belief system, I go back to Proverbs. The Bible says a prideful man will be brought low, a humble man will be brought up. You see what I'm saying? So I always keep that in my mind, and it's that God does not like the prideful. Now that's just me. That's just I'm just sharing with you my belief system. So I could deal with not having all of this. You see what I'm saying? And be content. I can be content living within my means and still have peace and not feel like I'm not measuring up, right? And because that's how people get into midlife crisis. Oh, I don't measure up. They're constantly comparing themselves to other people. I mean, no, that's dangerous when you do that. It's like I always been, told, hey man, just stay in your lane. Focus on what your goals are. Don't look at, well, I graduated with him and him and him, and look where he's at, and look where he's at. That type of stuff. You do that, man. I believe God made us all individuals and gave us all individual assignments, And just because you're not making it at that income bracket and they are, doesn't mean that they're more successful than you. And unfortunately, in society today, we judge individuals based on what?
What they have.
Yeah, what they have. How much money that they got, right? What schools are their kids going to? Yeah, Fortune 500. Yeah, exactly. You know, and all that. But then again, you see a lot of the scandals are done by what? A lot of times the people, they're living up on the hill, right? And I mean, nothing wrong with, having money. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on anybody that is living up on the hill. But a lot of times, that becomes the standard. People give more respect to people that have more money or have, a higher degree or went to a more expensive, classier school. Okay? And that shouldn't be, right? So, just like I said, I mean, there's people get an AA degree. Get an AA degree, and people do more with an AA degree than some people do with a master's degree. Right? I mean, you look at what's his name? We look at a lot of, Bill Gates, wasn't it? College dropout. Mark Zoom, what's his name? The guy with Facebook?
Zuckerberg.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's not no promotion to drop out of school or nothing like that. But that just goes to show you when you have a vision and a plan for your life and, you have the right belief systems, right? I mean, you can go a lot further than people even with, higher education and more money maybe, in their, what do they call it? That they in their inheritance than you do, So, and it's like I said, it's all comes down to what your belief system is, because that's what's going to bring your peace of mind. Because you got a lot of individuals that are in the Betty Ford Clinic and all these rehab centers. They got millions of dollars, billions of dollars. Why is that? Why do you think that is? You have individuals that reach the pinnacle of success. However, you see them on the front page involved in drugs and alcohol, and you got. Look at the individual. What was that guy that was married to Holly Berry, and he's just cheating on her? Everybody's like, man, if I had Holly Berry, I would never cheat on her. And this guy is Eric Benet, I mean, what is that? I mean, a lot of times, these are personal issues that have not been dealt with, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of times, and that's what people think, if I could just have this job, everything will be okay.
Right.
If I could just get this woman, if I get this guy, everything would be okay.
O.J. Simpson, same thing.
Yeah.
Up top.
Right.
Then after the murder trials and everything,
there it
they
is.
caught him out in Nevada somewhere stealing his arm.
There it is. Insatiable, right? Yeah. Why? Because they didn't have peace within themselves. They weren't content.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, that's why I say you got to create a value system.
I feel bad for like the celebrities and stuff, like
Right.
that get caught up in the drug scene, because it's harder to notice it being a problem if you're successful in society.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a millionaire,
Right.
well, then why not do the drugs? I mean, I'm successful. I'm handling business.
As you know, what's a little depressing, they say, is, and I've heard them talk about that. They say, man, you get and you build up to this level, and then you're thinking to yourself, and you get used to it.
Yeah.
And pretty soon you're thinking, is this all there is?
Yeah.
I mean, you ever wanted that Christmas gift? You maybe cut out the picture when you were a kid, and you're showing your mom and your dad, every day, 3 months before Christmas, if I could just have this, and you're going to bed dreaming about it, and you just talking to your friends about it. You're obsessed with this toy, and then you finally get it. And 2 or 3 weeks later, it's left outside. Pretty soon, you're not even playing with it anymore.
Yeah.
You see, it's kind of that's kind of the same thing. If you're just living for things, right? And some people just live for things, materialistic people, right? Not for really a purpose. For example, why do you want that job? Man, you get paid $120,000 a year.
Yeah.
But why do you want that job? Man, I could buy. Whoop.
What trips me out though is how much people worship money, but money is actually nothing.
Right.
The actual money only is a middleman.
That's right.
To buy stuff.
That's right.
And they worship it like it's the thing that they want.
Well, it's going to bring me happiness. And then, some guys or some girls, well, if I get this job, girls are going to like me. Or I get this job, guys are going to like me. You see, but what is it about? What is your purpose? Right? What are your values? Right? It's like when you really have a passion about something, there should be a purpose, right, behind it. Why do you want to do this? You know, what type of legacy do you want to leave? And a lot of people, you know, they just choose anything. Well, this pay, and sometimes we let our family choose for you. Well, you need to make money. You don't need to do that. You ain't going to make it. Don't go to school for that. Nobody makes money doing that. You ever hear people say that? You know, they try to discourage somebody. You be a writer. Nobody. Come on, you don't make no money as a writer. Nobody makes money as a writer. Ain't no jobs like that for nobody. You need to go get something stable, right? Secure. And then some people, they just, okay. You know, they just let somebody sell their dream for them, right? Make them, you know, they just give people power over themselves. Yeah, you're right. I need to do something that's more secure. And then they just go ahead. And then what happens? That person ends up doing that job and they hate it. But they're secure. I mean, they got a family and everything, but they're depressed. And when they're depressed, what does that do? Does that impact their personal life? Yeah. Right? Yeah. Then a lot of times they end up drinking. And then they feel bad. They see somebody else maybe doing something they wanted to do, being successful, or maybe not making near the money they are, but they say, man, that guy sure looks happy. Right? You know, somebody just might just want to do landscape. They love doing landscape. You know what I'm saying? They love creating things. Oh, they don't want to do that. Come on now. That only pays this much and this and that and that. But that's what they love to do. You see? You need to go and get you a job working for DMV or something like that. With benefits and this and that and that and that and that. You see? And that person, like I said, is that going to project in their personality? That's not going to be the happiest person. A lot of times you see people that are just really moody. They're displacing. It's not that they don't like you. They just don't really like what they're doing in life. They're unhappy, right? Have you ever been in a bad mood and somebody just smiling down the street and it kind of irritates you maybe because you're upset? You know, it's just like you don't want to be like, but it's like, man, everything's going wrong, and and it's like, but some people live like that permanently, right? Some people still have their father and their mother controlling them, and they let their spouse control them. I want to do, no, you're not going to do that. You do that, I'm leaving. But I want to go, no, you need to keep your job. You're not doing that. You're not going to school for that. Or maybe I just want to get a certificate in this. I want to venture out into this type of business. You see? So, I mean that's the key is really, and that's why you take those walks. What do I want to do with my life? Who do I want to help? You might want to, I think in order to have happiness, you got to give, right? And you ever heard that one scripture is more blessed to give than receive? And that it's really true. So, you should be able to give back. That should be, that's my advice. That should be a part of everybody's plan in some way or the other. To be able to give back, whatever have you. Hold on real quick. I record these for future classes. So, yeah, but we want to, so that's why I talk about creating a winning value system. And so we're going to go into the React module. I have a little video I'm going to play. A friend of mine, he's a police chief for Roseville. And he's first black police chief. But he grew up in Oak Park. He tells a story how, he was in juvenile hall and, interesting life, grew up in a family, adopted family, had a white mom. He's black, a white mom, but the video I did was called "My Mother Never Gave Up." And so, but he has a lot of good points on the value system, what he learned from his mother on that. And he talks about this situation where, he erupted in the house. And he said his mom would always just stand firm, no matter what. Little woman, but she always stayed firm. So in this video, he's kind of giving advice to parents, but at the same time, he's talking to the youth too, and just individuals in general, on some of the tactics he used to become successful in where he is now. you know. He said, man, I came from humble beginnings, but he said, I wasn't getting good grades, you know, in school. But this is how I had turned my life around. So, you know, I was looking at the video. I was like, you know, it does relate to creating a winning value system. And, I mean, one thing about myself, I'm addicted to success stories. I love to hear success stories. Why do you think I like to hear success stories?
Because they're successful.
Yeah, but also, like I said, if you want to be successful, you emulate the habits of individuals that are successful, right? And kind of make them fit into your plan, right? So, I mean, that's, like I said, you just analyze. And what do they say? I heard somebody say, successful people do what unsuccessful people don't want to do. I thought that was deep. That was real profound. Successful people do what unsuccessful people don't want to do. Mm-hmm. And I said, that's all you got to do. Is find somebody that's unsuccessful and do just the opposite of what they do.
Right.
That's the formula to success, right? And I said, that's kind of deep right there, you know. And we were talking about it earlier today, but again, man, I'm telling you, association, and I'm playing this video in just a second, but association is I mean, you have so many people with great potential, but the thing that brings them down every time, I got family members like this, I mean, so much potential, brilliant. You know, I have family members, I mean, scored off the charts on SAT scores. And, I mean, just photographic memory, everything. Issue is, what? Her association. Friends. I mean, she's been caught up with drug dealers and all this other, I mean, just brilliant. I mean, she can, I mean, like I said, I mean, uses her smarts for scamming. Because she can scam anybody, I'm telling you. She can scam, I mean, she can use computers, whatever, to scam people, but she's kind of reaped what she sowed, right? Now she's building herself back up, but she had to build it right from the ground, you know.
So is that drug use?
Yeah, drug use and things like that, where she got caught up in all that. I mean, living that lifestyle.
Right.
Because she's real smart, so she got kind of cocky because she could just outwit anybody, you know what I'm saying? She'll look at somebody, she don't know who it is, but she'll just do things where it's like, man, how do you think of doing something like that, and just spin someone up? They don't know what way they're going, and all of a sudden she's driving off with her Lamborghini or something, legally. So, you know, but that was where she would take her smarts and use it for the negative, though. Right? Because she didn't have a value system set in place. Right? I mean, she grew up with a value system, but you have to take the initiative to fine-tune it. Right? Set your goals. And a lot of people, you know, they say, they did a survey, only 3% of people in society set goals. 3%. 3% of people have really written out their goals.
How many percent?
97, at 100%. So 97% of individuals don't write out their goals.
You mean actually write them down?
Yeah, 97% don't write out the goals. So they don't know, you know, where are they going in life? And that's why you have people that you think, man, he's driving a Mercedes, BMW, and all that, but they're miserable. They don't know where they're going. But yet you'll find somebody, maybe that 3%, and they're living, they only making, you know, $20,000 a year, but they're happy, whistling to work, you know, going back, volunteering, right? Helping people out. Maybe living in a little 1-2 bedroom apartment, but got a lot of peace, right? And I'm telling you, man, I mean, one thing you can't buy is what? Peace of mind. Why do you think they have to have happy hour? Because they need at least 1 hour to be happy. Right? They got to have happy hour. That's why people get home, I need a drink. I need a drink. I got to have a drink. Right? You got to have that. That's the only way they can get their peace. Right? And a lot of times we talked about how that's a belief system. That's why you got a lot of kids that have drinking problems, smoking problems, addiction problems. They learn that from their parents. And I teach parenting classes, right, for the court system. And they tell me, coming home, I need a drink. So what are you teaching the kid? That belief system. When you had a tough day, it's hard, I need a drink. So kids pick up that a year, think about it. Day after day, they just watch the mom and dad. Yeah, we got to get a drink. Woo! I need to relax. I need a cigarette. I need a cigarette.
It's a mindset.
Yeah. And kids learn what over and over. When you, like I said, to relax, you need a beer, you need a cigarette. Those two very bad habits, right? And like I said, when you affect your health, you affect your mindset, right? They say that. It's a domino effect. Said a man, I had a hard day, man. I got to work out. I got to release some stress. I got to work out. Ooh, I need a protein shake. I go by Jamba Juice. Give me a protein shake. Give me a protein booster, or a ginger booster, or something like that. Now that's just two ways to look at things. See, one way, man, I got to go work out. I got to go take a walk.
So that's positive, right?
Yeah, that's positive. See, that's positive. But see, some parents come home and say, man, I got to work out. I got to go to the gym. I got to release some stress. I need to get a protein shake. Give me some green tea with some honey in it.
That's definitely good for the energy.
Oh, yeah, green tea. I have green tea every morning. Green tea, some honey in it. That's a natural detox.
Really? I drink
natural detox.
Breakfast essentials, Mm-hmm. They got all kinds of vitamins.
Yeah, see, there's something like that. But see, we have a choice, right? It all comes down to our choices. But see, if you don't think about it, okay, how do I want to respond to stress? You got to have a plan. A lot of people, I need a drink, I need to scream at somebody, cuss them out, put some fear into somebody to shut them down. Right? Some people do that. Well, I'll just act a fool. When I act a fool, everybody stay quiet. Problem is, you do that to the wrong person, and then on top of that, what are you doing? You're teaching your kids to act a fool. Right? And then, you create a negative environment.
So, I live in a sober living environment with 14 other guys, and, we do the AA program and everything. So I'd say the biggest thing that we promote there is straight out of the AA book is to pause when agitated or doubtful.
Right.
When somebody pisses you off or whatever, just pause for a second and think about it before you react.
And see, that's a positive thing. The only thing is people got to make that complete though, because I've gone through the anger management curriculum and stuff like that. The only problem, for example, if I'm teaching anger management, when I worked at the Department of Corrections, got about 3 or 4 pimps in my class. Now, they want the certificate, right? Because they need the certificate in order to present for parole. That's part of their plan. But do you really think they're internalizing what I'm saying? Why? They're pimps. They still want to be pimps. You know what? Very nice pimps.
No, you can't be the right thing.
Right? Yeah. Can't really be a nice pimp, right? Okay, please just go on. Please, come on, get back out on the street. Please, come on, just give me the 50. We had an agreement, 50%. Please. Oh, why are you acting like this? Do they do that? Let's discuss this at the coffee shop at Starbucks. No, what are they going to do? They're going to get violent. They're going to get angry, right? They're going to mess with their mind. First they're going to beat them, then they're going to tell them they love them, and then they play that I'm the daddy role and all that. So if I'm telling them, if they still want to be pimps, and I'm telling them, hey, just relax, right? You relax. They're like, relax. That girl got my money. I ain't relaxing for nothing. Why relax? Why would I relax? My nickname's Loco, right? That's how I got my rep. People know I'll go off. I'm unpredictable. People are scared of people that are unpredictable. I know that. So what do you got to do? You got to change their belief system, right? You got to and that's what I as a counselor, I was a salesperson trying to sell someone on new beliefs. I can't make them change their beliefs, but I would try to present new belief systems by showing how bad their belief systems were, but make them see it. You know what I'm saying? I would kind of have discussions with them so that they could basically see what their belief system really is. Oh, you're a gang member, huh? Yeah, I'm a gang member. Okay, so you got enemies? Yeah, I got an enemy. I said, okay, so you're kind of a target, huh? Yeah, well, we all targets. I'm like, well, where do you live? With moms? Moms, okay, so you're a target. Your target moves to your mom's house, huh? What do you mean by that? I said, you love your mom? Yeah, I love my mom. You're kind of a target, right? When you love somebody, you don't put them in danger, do you? And they started thinking, right? Now you know, oh, I take my little brother to the park. Okay, you're a target, so the target takes your little brother to the park, huh? So you want to remain a target. You know, I had a friend of mine whose son was in a gang. His two sons were in a gang, and his wife got killed at the house because the sons were coming in. I mean, the gang members were coming in looking for his sons, and his mom was on the bed reading the Bible, heard some commotion at the door, someone's yelling police. She gets up, walks in the hallway, they blast her right in the hallway. Why? See, his sons were targets. So now my friend, died with a broken heart.
He's talking about X-rated.
Yeah, he knows him, Mr. Harris. Right?
That's the murder that X-rated?
Yeah. You see?
Yeah.
And see, he went down with a broken heart. You see? So, but that's an extreme case, right? But see, that gets some people's attention. Man, my house got shot. Your house got shot up. The kitchen window got shot. Does your mom sometimes wash dishes? Yeah. Well, that could have been her in that kitchen window. Right? Do you love your mom? You want to make your mom proud of you? Right? Yeah. Well, you think you're making her proud doing that? And a lot of times they're not thinking. I'm not trying to I'm trying to get them to think about it. Yeah. No. Okay. Do you love her enough to change? Yeah. Well, okay. We'll see. And sometimes they think. Sometimes they get back on there. Once you show them from that perspective, you'd be surprised how many people, they get it. Now, people still have a free will whether they're going to change or not. But I've seen a lot of people change by you just presenting some truth to them. They never thought about it that way. Remember I told you? Think about what you think about. All they thought about was, I'm cool, I need protection, I want to get the girls, and, but they don't look at the big picture.
Bless you.
Right? Bless you. They've never been taught or trained to look at the big picture. Right? Remember we talked about, well, you're in a gang or you're hanging with this clique for respect. Well, when you do that, does it violate your conscience? Well, yeah. Wasn't your conscience your self-respect? Well, yeah. Well, how do you get in respect when you're violating your own self-respect? Huh? You have peace? No, of course you don't. You're violating your own self-respect. You're disrespecting yourself. So how can you get respect disrespecting yourself? I never thought about it like that. So do you see how you're living a lie? And I'm not trying to put you down. I'm just trying to get you to think about some things. Right? Well, yeah, I am. That's why you're probably on drugs. Because it's hard for you to live with yourself. You've got to disassociate. See? You have to disassociate. That's why you have to be called this nickname. Because you saw some people, I call them first saying, hey, what's up, John? I'm not John. I'm too dirty. Well, why don't you want to be John? They don't feel right being called John. Right? I got to be something I'm not. My gang created, or my homies created, a whole new character for me. I want to live as that character. I want to disassociate from who I am. Why? Because John's been violated by them. You know what I'm saying? They don't feel good. So if I'm dirty, I get praised for doing dirty stuff. I could live in this fantasy world, disassociated from my real self, listen to the music, and feel like I'm down and I'm accomplishing something. And every time I'm not high, I go back to John. So I got to keep going high to get back over here. I got to stay high. I got to keep drinking. I got to weed. I got to have the music. I got to have all the stimulation to stay disassociated from who I really am. Right? And see, but once people are able to learn this, they can see it. You know, they see it. I mean, we all, like you said, sometimes they've never seen it like that. You know, that's true. Then they can use that to help somebody else. Hey, I used to be like that. I understand what you're going through. Right? Sometimes those become the best counselors. And I've known people like that. I was talking to somebody on the phone today. Same thing like that. Guy, Crip from South Central. Same thing. You know, read the thing, and now I've trained him to be the certified gang specialist now. Now he's a certified gang specialist down in San Diego. You see? Now he's doing programs helping other youth. Because he was able to see that and took him through that whole thought process thing. Through the BEAR module. Through all that. He did real well. I went through my whole training program. I certified him. He's a gang specialist now. You see? So, any feedback on that? Any comments? But like I said, it starts, you got to cultivate the atmosphere. Right? You got to set the environment. Right? I mean, anything, think about it. If fellas, if you're going on a date, right? What do people do? They clean their car out, right? Get a fresh tree in the car, right? You're not gonna go over there. Hopefully, you're not gonna go over there blasting gangster music, right? People put on maybe some romantic music. People do things. They set the environment, right? Put on some smell good, dress appropriately, right? Why? You're setting the right type of atmosphere for your presentation, correct?
Sure.
Just like you go for a job interview, you got to set the atmosphere. You're not just going to come there just looking any old way, because you're in competition, right? You want to have your resume, be suited and booted, ready, good posture, firm handshake, a good eye contact. Right? Well groomed. I mean, you got to have the atmosphere. You set the atmosphere. But same thing with your mindset. You got to set the atmosphere. What type? You're playing gangster music. You're playing rock and all this other garbage and watching garbage and hanging around people that are lazy, that really don't have any goals or anything like that. The experts say you're going to be the average of whoever you hang around. You're going to be the average of whoever you're hanging around. So if that's the atmosphere you set to where you're always swimming against the current, you're trying to go upstream, but the friends you're hanging around are going downstream, right? Can you imagine paddling on the river? You're paddling one way, trying to get to your destination. You got 3 other friends paddling the other way. How far are you going to go?
Stuck.
That's what people do. I remember where I worked at the Department of Corrections. That's the first thing. Everybody had the job. I said, okay, that's good. You got the job. You got your education. The main thing I would stick to, who are your friends? Let's look at, why you're the only one that want to look at the friend. I said, well, who are your friends? Well, so-and-so's picking me up. Who's picking you up at the gate? No. I said, you already got a recipe. You'll be back. Well, we're just going to go to a party. I ain't going to lie. I just want to get high and get drunk. That one night, Johnson, it's been some years. I'm like, you're already through right there. You through. And guess what? They'll be back. I said, you'll be back. If you do that, you'll be back. I guarantee you. You're already coming out the gate with a broken leg. You see? You got to set the atmosphere right from the start. And start the process at least. The walks is important. Got to get that thinking time in. Have to get that thinking time in. That's where it starts. I mean, that's when you start thinking about how you're going to set up your atmosphere, right? How you're going to set the climate. Most people don't want to do that. That's boring. I can't sit up there for an hour both myself. It's like torment to be by themselves, to think with their own thoughts. I gotta be listening to something. Can I take a walk with music? No, you don't take a walk with music. You think, I need music to think. Why do you need music to think? Because now you're thinking about the music too. You're distracted. Your concentration is split. right? They've done the studies when people watch TV or sometimes listen to music. They say you're only 50% productive a lot of the time. Because even though you don't know it, your part of your attention split. If you could just get laser focus, and that's what it takes. Have a pencil, a notepad when you go for your walks. Sit down at the park, find some water or something at a park, or some nice trees, and just think. And just force yourself to think. Because if you haven't done it in a long time, people will be like, you can't. I mean, it's like, man, people go through withdrawals, literally. Right? I've taken people to try to train them to do that, and they're like, they can't sit still. Like, I mean, constantly they're sitting down, but they're constantly just having to move. I'm like, be still. I mean, literally like that, just moving around. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I got that going on like this. I do this all the time. I hate it.
Yeah, well, you know what?
I don't know what that is.
It's a discipline. I tell my kids, I say, being still is a skill. Being still is a skill. And I say concentration.
All right, get the foot going.
Yeah, just practice just being still, relaxing. And just think about your life. Pray. Whatever you have to do, just think about your life. What do you want to do? Ask yourself those questions. What do I want to do with my life? What do I want to accomplish? What do I want my legacy to be? What am I good at? What are my skill sets? What would I do for free? You want to find out what the right career is for you? What would you do for free? Because, a lot of people, they get out, we got so-and-so a job. And that's fine, you got them a job, but a lot of times, we're going to get them a job here. People, they let people just make their plans for them, And nothing wrong, don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with learning skill sets at a job, but that's, a lot of times, you got to think about what you want to do. If that's a stepping stone while you're going to school, you got that job, that's fine. Or that's a skill set you might even be able to take to your dream job or your dream business. Do it. But don't settle, right? Don't settle. Man, you settle, that's when depression hits. People that settle, that's a recipe for depression. If you just think, I'm just going to work at this job forever, retire, I was listening to somebody the other day at the prison, at Folsom Prison, one of the guards, and I could tell he didn't like his job. Man, I'm seeing everybody else is having fun, doing there, and I'm over here babysitting these guys, and everybody, he was just griping and complaining, right? I could tell some people love their job. Like, I used to love my job working at Department of Corrections. I'm kind of a social person. I like to ask people. I'm the one that would be mingling around on the yard all the time, Like, Johnson, why are you always listening to us? I'm just trying to start conversations with people, right? That's just kind of my personality. So it wasn't like work, but like the hours would go by real quick with me, right? It always go by really quick. But I go back, somebody like, man, why are you talking to them? They'd be like real disgruntled. God, yes, man, why don't you just chicken in here, man? Let's play some checkers or something, But it's just like, man, I got 15 years before I max out, 10 years before I max out. And they would just gripe and complain, and they got all these issues at the house. Because I could see somebody have to live with them. My goodness.
Cup half empty.
Yeah, it's just terrible. But you have other people that love their job, and they get along, and then they come in. The population's happy to see them, and they're happy to see them. It's reciprocal. You know what I'm saying? And just like last night, I was at church at Folsom Prison, and I just have a joy going. I mean, they lifted me up because I was going through some things, and just listening to the choir sing, man, I said, man, that just really blessed me. You know what I'm saying? And they had encouraging words of getting up, speaking, and everything like that. And I get more encouraged like at that church than I do in churches in the community a lot of times. I'm not trying to draw any comparisons, but I really do. Because it's like, man, you just go over there, just the most positive atmosphere at Old Folsom Prison, in the chapel there. I mean, it's a blessing just to be there. You see? So, but anyway, let's take a break now. And when we come back, we're going to watch this not movie, but video. Is that all right?
Yep.
All right.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Jesus.
So basically, what I just want to talk about, how did you get here, Chief Hahn? I mean, here you are, you're the chief of police out here in Roseville, California. And that's a historical accomplishment here. And but what I'm interested in, I want to take you back, to your childhood, because you've had a pretty challenging childhood. I mean, you grew up with a lot of different types of obstacles. You were adopted, single parent home. You even found yourself once in juvenile hall. Now, you're here now, Chief of Police in Roseville. Can you take us back? Take us back to where you've been and how did you come here? How did you get here? Take us on that journey.
Sure. Actually, the thing that saved my life was at 3 months old, my mom and dad adopted me. So I was given up for adoption at birth. And about 3 months old is when I actually came home with my mother and father. So that's really what saved my life, because my family is an outstanding family, and my mom is really the reason why I'm where I'm at today. There are some things that weren't planned. When they adopted me at 3 months, my father died when I was 5. My mom got remarried about 9 years old to my stepfather, who also died when I was 16. When I was about 9 years old, 9 or 10 years old, I witnessed a murder in front of our house after I got home from church with my older stepbrother. We were the only witnesses to the murder, and just kind of early on, didn't realize it at the time, but one of the things that, one of the people that taught me responsibility, again, was my mother. And so there was no question that I was going to testify in court on that homicide, because I was one of only 2 witnesses to it. And so it never crossed my mind that I would not testify, something that we see often today, because from the very start, my mom, that was the right thing to do. You witnessed it, you go in and you say what you saw. Now, my testimony probably didn't help the case very much, but the fact still remains, later on in life, I found out my mom was pretty scared about the whole thing, about me testifying, and scared of retaliation and those sort of things. She never let on to me that, but that's just an early on sign of how my mother taught me responsibility. So a few years later, when I was 16, I was having a few problems with the fact that I was adopted, and was getting into a few battles with my mother at home.
So what was the problem? What was going through your mind? What was your psyche about being adopted?
Well, a lot of people say all adoptees go through this kind of rejection phase, and you're not my mother kind of thing. And so we had a few years there where me and my mom, well, really me, was basically going through that, saying, literally telling my mom, "You're not my mother. I don't want to live here." And so there was a few rough times around 14 to 16 years old, and one day I came home from high school at lunchtime to try to get my mom to get me out of a chemistry class. And my mom said her typical thing to me, that "You're so smart, you should try harder," because I wasn't doing good in class, and that she's not going to go up to school and talk to the counselor about getting me out. Well, that led to me kind of losing my temper and getting a little out of control, and I actually broke the leg on my sister's desk that was in the kitchen, and my mom says to me, "If you don't calm down, I'm going to call the police." And so I literally told her, "Well, call them. Maybe they can talk some sense into you." Now, normally that wouldn't go over too well, but I guess that day my mom decided to call my bluff, and so she dialed 911, and the officers got there very, very fast. I have to say now that after 24 years in law enforcement, that's probably the fastest any police officers have ever gotten anywhere. Yeah, and so the nice cop went in the kitchen with my mom, and the guy that, in my opinion, doesn't really know how to talk to kids very well, stayed in the living room with me and said a few curse words, pushed me up against the wall a couple times as I tried to leave the house. I was definitely in the wrong. I kept trying to leave, and he kept pushing me against the wall, and the last time I decided I wasn't going to let him push me against the wall anymore, and so I kind of leaned my body weight forward when he pushed me, so he threw me into the other wall and took me to juvenile hall for assault on an officer. Long story short, that they didn't actually end up charging me, but I stayed in juvenile hall for about 4 hours as my mom went to a church meeting, and had a little time to think of it. And again, just kind of the way my mom taught me responsibility, I was really pissed off that my mom let me sit in juvenile hall for 4 hours. So on the way to the car, I knew better than to say anything because I knew my mom would just turn around and walk me back into juvenile hall. So the only thing that was said between us on the way home, as we're getting in the car, my mom looks over at me and says, "Did I learn my lesson?" Now, I didn't respond because I knew better than to respond because I wouldn't have responded very nicely and she would have walked me back into juvenile hall. But that always resonated with me after I calmed down and had a chance to think about it. And what it really meant to me is, yeah, the officer wasn't a very good officer in my opinion, but my own mother called the police on me. I did something that caused my mom to call the police on me, and so I had to take responsibility that I actually caused that interaction with the police. They should have never been in my house.
And you were 16 years old?
I was 16 years old.
Okay.
So, and that's the same mother that as they were dragging me down the front steps of the house, she was bawling at the top of the stairs. She had never intended on me going to jail. She was hoping that we got resolved some other way with the police officers, like probably talk some sense into me. And it just kind of all went wrong. She hadn't planned on that. So here's a woman that within 4 hours can gain her composure and give me what I needed out of that. That not an excuse, not anything like that, but take responsibility for what I did that caused that unfortunate situation to happen. And 2 years later, I not, as a plan for me at all, just kind of accidentally got into the process of becoming a community service officer for Sacramento Police Department. And solely because they paid more than I was making at the time at Florin Mall. And that whole situation came up, and the actual background investigator asked me, do I blame the officer for that? And my answer at 18 years old, and I wasn't a very mature kid, but at 18 years old I said, well, I don't think he was a good officer. But no, I don't blame him. It was my fault he was in my house. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I got hired, because there was a whole bunch of other questions that were asked simply because I came from Oak Park. That maybe other people wouldn't have been asked.
Well, how was that growing up in Oak Park? Because we know that's a pretty gang-related area. I'm sure you had a lot of different obstacles. A lot of kids fall into the pitfalls, growing up in neighborhoods like that. How did you avoid that?
I actually think Oak Park was the best place I could have ever grown up. But yeah, there was those challenges, and I think it comes down to the support system that kids had. I had a great support system. My mom was all over me. She knew where I was going. She asked a bunch of questions. She followed me around. She was up at the school all the time checking on grades, and I had terrible grades through elementary school. And they started getting better in high school because she just never gave up. She was hard on me, but she always made it very clear that she believed in me and that I could do it. But she wouldn't let me slip at all. But yeah, I had, out of all the friends I have some friends that went to prison. I had some friends that were killed. I have some friends that are very successful. And every single one of them, you can point to what support system they had, their family or whatever support system they had. Either the ones that went by the wayside didn't have good support systems, and the ones that had great support systems that, parents were involved, and I was over at their house all the time, and it was a great atmosphere. They are successful today. And I used to think when I was a kid, I had one friend in particular. We would ride to middle school on our bikes. And basically I was one of the furthest away houses. So as I rode, we'd pick up friends along the way on the way to school. And one friend of mine, his mom was on the couch laying down when we left for school. And when we came back, his mom was laying like in the exact same spot. And as I got older, you kind of figure out what she was into and involved in. But it was like a very loving home. She would hug my friend coming home. But the other thing that I really envied was that she never cared when he came and went. And I thought that would have been the coolest thing, to live in a house where the parents or the mom was very affectionate, but also let her son do whatever he wanted, basically. And I used to think, man, I wish I could live in a house like that, where I could come home anytime, where when the lights came on, my mom wasn't walking through the park to the basketball court to drag me back home and I get laughed at by my friends. It's amazing when you're, 12, 13, 14 years old, what kind of things you wish your home was like. And then when you get into your 20s, you realize, I'm so thankful my home wasn't like that, because kids need structure, and they need people that believe in them, and they need people that can guide them in the right path. So now that I'm older, I'm very thankful that, my mom did those things and expected certain things of me, as opposed to just let me do whatever I wanted. So yeah, there was obstacles. The homicide I witnessed. You witness all sorts of things growing up in Oak Park.
Even your brother. I guess you had a brother that was a victim of some street violence.
Yeah, I had a younger brother that 2 years younger than me, stepbrother actually. When he got out of high school, he went to the military and did a couple years in the military. And when he got out, he got involved in drugs in downtown Sacramento and was ultimately killed by murdered by his partner in drugs. And part of that, weighs heavily on me because I think part of it is because of me. Because about a week before he got killed, I had stopped his drug dealing partner and we got into each other's face a little bit because he had beat up some woman and so I think that brought home to him that Chris, my brother's brother, was really a cop. And there's a lot of paranoia in the drug world. They're all doing drugs in addition to selling drugs, and so he got real paranoid one night and thought my younger brother was snitching on him, which he really wasn't.
Right.
And he murdered him in his home. And I was working the night he was found as a police officer. That was my beat. And so literally I hear the call come out and I hear the name and I figure, well, that's the same place my brother lives. His name is Chris. That's got to be involved with him somewhere. So I drove over there after I booked somebody in the jail and walked in and saw my brother laying on the floor with a gunshot wound to his head. And they didn't know who he was yet. So I walked out to the officers and told them who he was and everything. And then I promptly went searching for Skip is the guy's name. And he got convicted. He got caught. I didn't catch him that night, but he got caught. And so it just goes to show this. My younger stepbrother had some challenges in his family before my family, my mother came in, and so it just goes to show we grew up in the same house, but yet we went two different directions. Partly because he had some other issues in his family also, and got involved in drugs. It can happen to anybody, and unfortunately, I made a promise to myself that night. That was actually my mother's birthday when I found him that night. It was about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. So I actually called my mom after I had found him in his house and told my mom. So I had made a promise.
That must have been really difficult.
Well, and it kind of comes back to about 2 weeks before that, I told my mom, because Chris had jumped into my squad car one night, and I could just tell by the way he was acting that, it was getting worse, that he was, we all kind of had this sense that he was messing around with the wrong people. But after he got in my squad car that night and was talking to me, I knew he was messing around with it. So I called my mom and I said, Chris is going to end up in jail or dead if he keeps going down this path. And actually a couple days later he did end up in jail, and a week later he ended up dead. And so I had made myself a promise that night, no family member of mine I'm going to think that about and not do every single thing I possibly can. And it goes back again to the support structure. These things can happen to anybody. Somebody can get involved in drugs, and a lot of kids do, especially these days. And if we don't have some serious work put into helping them get back on the right path, things like that are going to happen. People are going to have to call their mothers on their birthday and tell them that their son is dead.
Wow.
So, there's been a few challenges, but again, like I say, I had a outstanding family, my brother, my sister, my mother, that you can get through just about anything if you have the right support system.
Now you're the top cop here. Now how do you feel that your past experience, just what you've been through, made you a better policeman?
Oh, I think there's you can't pay enough to get the kind of experience that me and many other people have. I think it brings a little bit different understanding of the dynamics of what's going on. I think the biggest thing for me is when I work in neighborhoods, say like Del Paso Heights or Meadowview or Oak Park in Sacramento, I always had this belief that 99% of the people in these neighborhoods are outstanding, great people, a lot of which are scared to come out of their house because of the gang activity, but yet they are great people. And I think I have that understanding because I grew up in Oak Park, and I actually knew everybody that lived in Oak Park because I grew up there, and I knew, the people that are dealing drugs on the corner or doing gang activity aren't the most common people in those neighborhoods. They're really outstanding people, and it's a shame. I mean, that's where I get my desire to be a police officer. Is I want to help, the Miss Johnson that's sitting on the corner that's scared to take her grandkids to the park because of the activity that goes on outside of her house. I have a real desire to help people like that be able to use the park that was made for them to use, and to be able to go out in front of their house without worrying about something that's going to happen in front of their street or something that's going to happen to their kids or their grandkids. But I think I have that desire because I grew up in a neighborhood where I saw the greatness of a neighborhood, where somebody that just drives in, whether they're a police officer or anybody else, that doesn't know the actual people that live there, they don't get that experience. They see the bad every day, and they start believing that that's what the neighborhood's about, is the bad. And really, it's such a small percentage of our neighborhoods.
Why did you develop that perception? Because a lot of people grow up in Oak Park, they don't have that perception. I've seen in the Department of Corrections a lot of individuals from Oak Park, and they come with just the opposite. So how did you develop a positive perception of your environment?
Well, I grew up with a woman that believed in very selfless acts, and probably hasn't thought more than 2 days her whole life about herself. And she didn't just give to me and my brother and sister and my 2 stepbrothers. She gave to the whole community. She's given away houses for free, cars for free. She helps the church and any family in need. If they walked by my mother and they were in need, she would help them out. And that's the house I grew up in. And so I got to see the goodness in people. And I grew up on a great block. I mean, you don't, like even the neighborhood I live in now, I know my immediate neighbors. But when I grew up, I knew the whole block and a couple blocks that everybody knew each other.
Right.
And everybody helped each other. Mowed each other's lawns, washed each other's cars. You know, everybody mentored, you know, the kids in the neighborhood. So I got the experience of seeing the goodness in people. And even some people that are going down the wrong path. I mean, I had friends that got in trouble, but I knew them since like almost the day they were born. I knew they were good people.
Right.
And you start asking yourself, how did we grow up on the same block, go to the same schools, have the same experience, play football on the same street every day, and hang out with each other every day to the point where you called each other brothers? And then at some point they go to prison and you become the chief of police in the police department. And I think it goes back again to the support systems. I had a great family that was on top of me every day. And I didn't realize it when I was a kid. I didn't like it when I was a kid. And they grew up with aunties and grandparents that at some point just got so old they couldn't keep up with them. And, you know, people got sick and things like that, so their energies are taking care of the grandfather and things like that. So I just had a great, I mean, like I said, when I got sworn in as Roseville, the best neighborhood I could have ever grown up in, it was Oak Park.
Okay.
It has challenges, but that taught me a lot growing up in Oak Park.
That's powerful. Now, going back, you're a community officer. Let's go back there. Okay. Chief of police now. From community officer to chief of police, take us on that journey. How'd that happen? And then, like you say, young man, and you know, like I said, you achieved the top position here in Roseville. First African American chief of police in Roseville.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to what I tell kids every time I talk to them. You know, you're going to be as smart as you're going to be, and you need to work at your academics and all that. And I for sure wasn't the brightest kid on the block, and I'm not the brightest person in this department by far. I wasn't the brightest person in Sacramento PD, but I work harder than everybody. There's nobody there might be people that work as hard, but there's nobody that works harder, and there's definitely nobody that cares about the community more than I, whether it's Roseville or Sacramento. Nobody. Right. And so that's why I tell kids, you can't take away, you have to get your education, that's one, and I did that. But you can't deny hard work. So you can have cliques or whatever you want to do in your line of work, but people cannot deny hard work and successful work. And so, you know, I just learned from my mom that no matter what you're doing, you do it to your utmost ability, and that's what I've always done. And you know, you're surprised at who notices. And so every once in a while you get a phone call from somebody that noticed, and they offer you the opportunity, like was offered you know, here in Roseville. And I would have never in my wildest dreams ever thought I'd end up here. But, you know, same thing you tell kids. You go to school, you dream about whatever it is you dream of becoming. And you might not end up there, but as long as you go to school and you work hard, you'll end up somewhere you want to be, whether it's where you thought you wanted to be or not. And that's exactly what happened to me. I went to school, I worked hard, I did my best, I tried to support the community as best as I could, and I tried to keep all the politics and all those other things away from the true goal, which is helping the community, because, like I say, that belief in me that was instilled when I was a young kid, that there is greatness in the community and there's good people, and And when you work hard to support, that's the problem, that's the issue at hand. When you try to support a community, at some point somebody's going to notice and offer you opportunities. And if you're ready to take it, then you'll be there. I went to a dinner one time where one of the original Tuskegee Airmen spoke. And one of the things he said is kind of what I believed in my life, but put words to it. And he said, you know, one of his supervisors in the Tuskegee Airmen told him that you always have to have your bags packed. And what he meant by that was opportunity is going to come. And if you're ready for it, that means you have your bags packed. If your education is where it needs to be, if your work experience is where it needs to be, if your mental state is where it needs to be, when those opportunities come, if you're ready to take them, they will come. And that's what he meant by make sure your bags are packed. And so my bags were packed when this opportunity came. And but the opportunity doesn't come if you don't work hard. And you know, there's some people have advantages that others don't, but everybody can work hard and everybody can care.
Some words of wisdom for the parents, and lastly, words of wisdom for the youth of today. You know, something some core principles that you really believe that need to be instilled in the parents and the young people.
Yeah, well, for the parents, I would say, you know, I never mistook my mom for my friend. Still to this day, in my 40s, my mom is my mom. And I think too many times these days parents want to be their kids' friends and think that that's what their kids need, that's what's going to get them to love them. I love the heck out of my mom, and she's never been mistaken for my friend. And I think a lot of that goes back to one of the things I think all kids need is somebody that's going to be disappointed in them, genuinely disappointed in them when they don't reach their full potential on any given thing. And my mom, even though she was very supportive of me, had high expectations, was very disappointed in me anytime I didn't do something that I was capable of doing. And she made it clear that she was disappointed, and she took corrective action to fix that. It didn't always work. I got plenty of trouble growing up. I can't imagine how much trouble I would have got in if she hadn't been like that.
Give me an example of some corrective action.
Well, I'll give you a great example. All growing up through elementary school, I got terrible grades. Was supposed to flunk the 4th grade. And I just didn't like school. I liked going to school. I didn't like doing the work. And I was disruptive in class. These days, somebody would probably take me to the doctor and give me some medication and say I was ADHD. But my mom always said, you're better than that, and you can do better. And I used to come home before any of my report cards would come out, maybe a week before, and tell my mom, I did so much better this semester. And you're going to see when the report card comes. Knowing that my grades weren't good. But I thought to myself, I thought, well, that'll buy me another week where my mom will be happy with me and all that. Then my report card would come out and it would have the same old grades and my mom would be very disappointed and you know, I'd get whatever punishment I would get. Well, so leaving from, as a matter of fact, a funny story, when I was graduating from junior high, and my mom came to the graduation ceremony, I'm sitting up with all the other kids, I actually thought I had flunked out of school. And I thought they weren't going to call my name. And I was thinking all these things, what am I going to say to my mom when her son doesn't get to walk across the stage? It was one of the happiest moments of my life when they called my name, thinking, oh, I did graduate. That's the kind of grades I got.
So she held you accountable.
She held me accountable. Now, it didn't help a whole lot in junior high in terms of making my grades better, but it was constantly on my mind, as you could tell by me telling her that I got good grades when I really hadn't. But the point of the story is, when I moved from junior high to high school, I still remember where I was standing on the stairs in my house. I told my mom the same story again. Mom, I'm going to high school now. Things are going to be different. Well, I'm going to a whole new school. I'm going to get good grades now. And what her answer shocked me and woke me up. Her answer, she immediately turned around and said, because all the times before she would always tell me, you're so talented, you're so smart, you can do it, you just don't try hard enough. So I kind of expected that same speech because I'd heard it a million times. But this time she turned around and said, I don't believe you anymore. You are talented, but you just don't try hard enough. So I don't believe that you're going to get good grades. You're going to keep messing up and doing the same old things you've been doing. And she turned around and walked off. I was crushed because the one person in my life that believed in me had just told me she no longer believed in me. And I can tell you that first semester of my freshman year in high school, I got straight A's and a B+. And it's the best grades I've ever gotten in my life, solely because I told myself I had to get my mom's trust back. And so to me, that's an example of the power that a parent can have when they're disappointed. Now, maybe it's a high risk kind of thing.
The key was you respected your mom.
Yes.
That's why. You know?
Absolutely.
So,
And it crushed me that she didn't, the one person that believed in me in my life. Because I guarantee you, there were people in my life that overtly told me basically, you'll never amount to nothing. But my mom was never one of those people. Even when I was telling my mom she wasn't my mom, she was not one of those people. And so that by itself improved my grades. And I got decent grades from then on. I got very good grades in college because, you know, I had to mean something. So my advice to parents are, you know, you love your kids just as much as you'd always love them, but be hard on them. Expect to know where they're at all times. Expect high things from them. Be disappointed in them, but don't ever give up on them, ever. Because no matter what they've done in the past, they can be good people if you just stay on them. Some people were hard-headed like I was, and it took us a little longer to get around that road. For kids, I would just say, don't use excuses. Be responsible for your own actions. You might have grown up in a single-parent house. You might have grown up in a no-parent house. You might be a foster child. You might be an adopted child. You might be any number of things that the kid down the street from you doesn't have to deal with. But nobody can take away education from you, and nobody can take away a work ethic from you. Nobody. Like I say, there's plenty of people smarter than me in this very department that would be much smarter to be a chief than I was. But it's not all about, you know, one single thing. It's about how hard you work, how much you care about what you do, how selfless you are, and every kid can do that. And you know, I hear a lot from parents that say, you know, a woman can't raise a man. A man has to raise a man. Well, my mom was my mother and my father, and I've given her Father's Day cards because of that. And one of the things she did, because to be a man, the essential ingredients of being a man is integrity, ethics, selflessness, being just a good person. A woman can teach you that. A woman can teach you how to be a man. There's some things that a woman might not be able to talk to with you, but those aren't the core things of being a man. And the other thing that my mother did is she brought male role models into my life after my dad died. And so, yeah, she realized that there were certain things that a man can teach another man. So she made sure I had male role models through the church or something else. But she still taught me the core elements of being a man. And so I hear that too often, that people say, well, a woman can't teach a boy to be a man. Yes, they can. And my mom did just that. And
like she instilled biblical values in you.
Every single thing I am, except for the bad stuff, she instilled in me. And she did it by herself. And she did it tough. My stepfather had cancer for like 3 or 4 years, and she was caring for him. But yet, she was still my mother. And so she had a lot. My sister is disabled, and she's had to care for her to a certain extent all her life. But she was still my mother. And she was still my brother's mother. My brother went to Berkeley and was very successful and a very selfless person. And it's all because of my mom. And so nobody should give up on kids. I hear a lot of stories as I talk to parents about bad things kids are doing. We just can't give up on them. We got to keep searching for the one thing that's going to touch each one of our kids. Every kid is different. And so we all have to struggle to find what is going to actually touch that one kid's life that turns it around. You see every day drug dealers and gang members that if they put that kind of energy and that kind of thinking and intelligence into something positive, what could they be? There's a lot of if just because we don't have 2 parents in every home, maybe sometimes we don't have any parents, we as a community have to raise our kids. So it doesn't matter if it's a police officer, a neighbor, an uncle, a teacher, somebody has to grab each one of our kids and get them to be successful. I've had plenty of role models, whether it's in the police department that, you know, literally snatched me by my neck and woke me up on certain things. The whole reason why I'm a chief right now is because of 2 friends of mine that were captains when I was in SAC PD that encouraged me to take the test and told me to get off my to get up and do something. Otherwise, I'd still be doing what I was doing. So I've had mentors all along my life, but to me, the biggest thing for me was the base that my mom gave me and still gives. I tell you right now, the really tough decisions I have in life, I still to this day call my mother and ask her opinion because, you know, quite frankly, she's never wrong. and because she comes from a selfless place. She cares nothing about herself.
That's powerful. We're basically done with this interview, but I want to ask you a question on gangs. Basically, how would you tell a parent? I mean, what advice would you give to a parent to safeguard their kids from gangs?
Well, I tell you, we didn't have gangs to the extent that we have them now when I was growing up, but we did have the Funk Lords and the initial Sacramento gangs when I was growing up. And we definitely had drugs and things like that. The thing that kept me away from drugs and gangs was my mom. Because I distinctly remember several of my friends used to smoke weed on the way to school even. And they would ask me if I wanted some. And I'm like, no, I can't smoke. That stuff stinks. And if I come home, my mom has like a nose like an elephant. She will kill me if I come home smelling like weed. And they all knew my mom. They all didn't go around her either. And then they're like, oh yeah, you're right. And same thing with gangs. I wasn't scared of my mom. I didn't want to disappoint my mom. So she whooped me more than I can count. So, and it hurt and all that. But I was never, my younger stepbrother was scared of my mom. I was never scared of her. But I was scared of disappointing her. And so I think you have to, you can't do a whole lot when your kids reach teenage years if you haven't laid the groundwork when they were younger. You have to hope and pray that when they were younger, you instilled the values in them that can be able to resist the very, very strong pull that they're going to get when they get older, 12, 13, 14 years old, of getting into gangs or getting into drug activity. You have to do your work from the day they're born. And that's what my mom did. We really never even talked about drugs in my house. It was just a given. You don't do drugs in this house.
You set the climate.
No. I can remember, not on a drug topic, but I remember one day I came home and I asked my mom, hey mom, I'm going to get an earring. Right when guys started getting earrings. And she said, oh, that's great. That's great. You're going to get an earring. And I was surprised because my mom's pretty old school. I didn't expect her to be okay with that. So I was like, oh, that's cool. And I think I turned around and started walking away like, I'm going to get out of here before the answer changed. And she says, I just have one question for you. I'm like, what's that? And she said, where are you going to sleep tonight? And I said, well, in my room. Not if you have an earring, you're not.
Right.
And so it's these kind of values that you have to instill in your kids, and that's what I'm trying to instill in my daughter. So when they get to the age where some of their good friends ask them to smoke a joint or go down here to do a burglary or do a little lick over here with this group, that they're strong enough to come up with whatever excuse it takes, that they say no and they don't get involved in that. You can't be with your kids 24 hours a day. You just can't. Especially when they get to teenager and they start getting involved in all these other things. There's no way you can keep track of them. Or when they start driving. You have to hope that you've instilled the things in them that are going to resonate with them when somebody comes up and asks that they have core values, that no matter what the situation, they don't violate their core values. And that's what my mom did for me. And that's what our parents, that's why being a friend to your kid doesn't work. Because you don't instill those core values. Because, you have to teach people who to have as your friends, and I had great friends growing up. And one of the things I tell kids these days, if your friend is asking you to do something that violates your core values, that asks you to do drugs and get involved in gangs or go do some criminal acts, they're not really your friends. My friends, my core friends that grew up, they wanted me to be successful. They supported anything I did, no matter what it was. Believe me, being a cop in Oak Park wasn't the most popular thing, but my core friends didn't blink. They're like, oh, you're going to be a cop? Okay. Whereas, in the police academy, they tell you you're going to lose all your friends. And I remember thinking when they told us that, why would I lose my friends? Because of the job I chose. And I didn't lose my core friends. They're still my friends to this day.
And it seems like the reason why you stayed in line with what your mom had instilled with you is that, like again, going back, your mom earned your respect. And I think because she lived out those values in front of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that seems like that's the key thing that a lot of times parents are telling their kids what to do. Kids ain't listening. And I'm not saying all the time they're not living according to those values, but a lot of times it seems like to be the case.
Right. Well, I check myself with that all the time now that I have kids. But the old saying, do what I say but not as I do. That doesn't work. I mean, if you're going to say be selfless and help others, you have to be seen being selfless and helping others. If you're going to tell kids not to do drugs, you can't be sitting in the back room doing drugs yourself. It just doesn't work. And I can tell you right now, when I have relatives or family members or close friends that I find out do drugs, I'm literally disappointed in it. Because to me, drugs is a weakness. You're not being strong if you're letting drugs control your life. And that was instilled to me from my mother. So you have to live what you say. Kids are probably the most intelligent people in the world. People don't think kids are watching at all times. I can tell you right now, some of the things my daughters come up with, I never in my life thought they noticed or heard or saw. And then it always brings you back like, oh wow, they watch everything. And so you better be who you say you are. Yeah, I would say between about 14 years old and 16 years old, which probably culminated in me getting arrested. My mom and I should say I didn't get along very well with my mom at all. I constantly argue with my mom where she stayed calm. I don't think I've ever heard my mom yell. But I would constantly tell my mom she's not my mom because I'm adopted. I would constantly tell her I didn't want to live here and I didn't like her and I didn't belong in this family and to take me back to the adoption agency. And my mom never wavered. Not once did she give in to that. And she would always have this like confused look on her face and go, where would you like me to take you? You're my son. What do you want me to do? You're my son. And I'm like, no, you're not. I'm not your son. I'm adopted. And she's like, she'd always respond with, yes, you're my son. What would you like me to, you can't just drop your son off somewhere. So she always stayed really consistent. And I think looking back now, as I'm older, I think I was testing my mom to see if she would give up on me, because I think because I was adopted, maybe I had something deep inside that felt like nobody was, I didn't belong to anybody, and that, nobody had, stuck by me. And so I think maybe I was trying her. And so she just kept sticking by me, and eventually I grew out of it. And she never treated me any different than my brother and my sister, who are biological children. And so I don't look at myself any other way. So a lot of times when I'll talk to people about being adopted, they'll say, well, did you ever find your mom? And I'm like, yeah, when I was 3 months old, I found my mom. And they're like, no, the other woman. I go, my biological mother? Because my mom is still living to this day. I know exactly who my mom is, because my mom is who raises you and teaches you the values. Right. And so it's always interesting to talk to people who aren't adopted if they don't really understand the whole thing. But my mom never once gave up on me. And I treated my mom terribly in about those 2 or 3 years. Terribly. Nobody should ever treat their mother like that, who had done so many things and basically given their life. The fact that we lived in Oak Park was because of me. We didn't always, when I was born, we didn't live in Oak Park. We moved to Oak Park to be in a more diverse neighborhood. And so my mom, she never ever wavered. It was constantly, I'm her son. She had high expectations. That's what the Hans do. To be honest, we never really talked about college very much. It was a given that you were going to go to college. And so, every one of my siblings have gone to college. Every one of my cousins have gone to college. My mom had graduated from college. My dad had graduated from college. My kids better graduate from college. It was just kind of, and so one of the things that has always struck me about my mom is, my mom is white, so people don't always make the connection. But I can tell you, anytime somebody who already knows me finds out who my mom is, and if they knew my mom, it is always better for me. Meaning, oh, you're Mary Hahn's son. And like their impression of me always goes up, simply because I'm Mary Hahn's son. Wow. I can tell you right now, Daryl Roberts, who I'm sure you know, yeah. I've known Daryl for years, 15, 20 years probably, from back in Oak Park. My mom has known Daryl for 15, 20 years. Daryl never knew that Mary Hahn was my mom until maybe, I think 5 years ago, where they were hosting a reception for me at the Urban League, and my mom was late, as usual. And she walks in with my sister, and Daryl's standing next to me, and I give my mom a hug, and he goes, and I think right there is where he put the two last names together. Right. And he goes, Miss Mary's your mom? I'm like, yeah. And it seems like right there, Daryl had a whole newfound respect for me because of what my mom had done for him back in Oak Park. So when people ask me what are my goals in life, I tell them that my goal is to do for my children, my two daughters, what my mom has done for me, meaning that their last name means something. and that when they go to a function or when they get older and they have a job, and when somebody says that Katrina and Daniel Hahn are my parents, that raises them up as opposed to brings them down. Like there's a positive energy around those two people. And the only way you can accomplish that is by doing good and by being selfless and helping others. Otherwise, you won't have that vibe. And that drives me every day, is that my daughters need to have the same benefits that I had by having me as their father, as I had as my mom, as my mother. Because there's not one person that if I told them who my mom was would think something negative. It would always be better. And so I think parents in general need to have that kind of attitude, because your biggest responsibility in life is to raise your children. That's right. And you have to give them something. I want my kids to be so much better than me, but the only way they can do that is if they have a great foundation. And the only way they can do that is if I'm doing good and they see that by example. I talk to my kids every day about working hard. When they play soccer, I don't talk to them about scoring goals. I talk to them about hustling and playing hard and doing your best, because I want them, no matter what they do, whether they're great in it naturally or not, I want them to work their hardest, because that's what my mom gave me. And she never once gave up in light of many, many ugly things that I said to her. I'll tell you one other story. I was going to summer school on the bus one year. And I don't remember if that was because my grades were terrible or just my mom thought I needed something to do that summer. But I was young. I was probably in the 3rd grade or something. Back then, we used to walk to school in kindergarten. You wouldn't do that now, but back then we did. So I would get on the bus, and it was clear in the south area. And I got you had to change buses on Lamb Park. And I got on the wrong bus, and it went in the wrong neighborhood. And so I was getting nervous. Like, I didn't know where I was at. I'd never been in this neighborhood. I was far away from home. I started crying. I just rang the bell on the bus and got off. Like, okay, I got to get off this bus. I don't know where this bus is going. So I just got off the bus, and I started walking the neighborhood thinking I'd come to a street that I recognized, and I never came to a street I recognized. So I went and knocked on the door, and little old lady answered the door, and she saw me crying. She's like, "What's wrong?" I go, "I'm lost. I got on the wrong bus. I'm lost." And she goes, "You want me to call your mom?" And I'm like, "No, don't call my mom. She'd be so pissed off." And so she calls the police, and the police came and drove me home. And so I'm thinking, oh, my mom's gonna kill me. I'm so dumb. I got on the wrong bus. And so I walk into the house, and my mom, like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Oh, the officer brought me home. I got on the wrong bus. I got lost." And she's like, "Okay, no problem." And so she turns around, and I'm surprised that she wasn't mad. And she goes, "Well, you better hurry up and get to school." And I'm like, "Well, Mom, summer school was only like a half day. It'd get out at noon, and it was probably 11 o'clock. I go, "Mom, I can't go back to school. School's almost out." She goes, "Nope. You got on the wrong bus? Go get on the right bus and go to school." I go, "Mom, by the time I get there, school will be out. Then get back on the bus and come home. Get on the bus and go to school."
Finish what you started.
So I went and got back on the wrong bus. Same thing when I happened in my first crash in her car after I got a license. I thought she was going to kill me. So I thought she was going to take the keys away from me because I got in a little fender bender in her car. And I had an appointment or something to go to later that night. And so I just assumed she wasn't going to let me drive because I had gotten a crash. She just said, "Well, you got to go to your appointment. Go on." I'm like, "I can drive the car?" Mm-hmm. "Yeah. Why wouldn't you be able to?" "Well, I thought you were going to take the keys." "Son, you have to learn from your mistakes. Get back in the car and go to your appointment." And so it was always this firm, if she wasn't firm, I would have never thought she'd be pissed, right? So she was always firm, but she always had this belief that you can do it.
And mercy and grace.
Yeah.
A lot of mercy, grace, and understanding.
And there's going to be obstacles thrown in your way, just like in anybody's life. You got to keep moving forward.
Now going back, because we got Sonny there, I just want to ask the last question. How did we start? Looking at the biblical values, like I said again, being raised in the church with those values, and how has that helped you in your career? And not only in your career, but as a parent.
Well, I think it goes all back to being selfless, right? There's not much more selfless book than the Bible, and that's what our mom taught us every day is to be a selfless person, care more about others than you do about yourself. And not too many stories about my mom, but one day my mom says, "I can't give away enough money." And I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, and she's quoted some Bible verse because she always does, but she says, every time I give away money, I get money in return that I didn't know I was going to get. And she gives an example where she just paid a couple $1,000s to, I don't know, Society for the Blind or one of the charities she works with. And she says the next day she goes to her mailbox and she gets like a $2,000 check from Social Security or somewhere she didn't know she was going to get. And she's like, every time, the more money I give, the more money comes my way. And I think she purposely tells me these stories, even to this day, to keep reminding me of what we're here for and why we're in this world and why we're in our communities that we're in and why we're in our lot in life that we're in. And I think the fact that I'm a police officer gives me a certain platform that I can impact people and communities. And that was taught to me from day one, from my mom and my father until he passed, and then continued on to this day from my mother. So I just think the more people, when you look at the things that make the news and the evil things that you see every day or the bad things you see, it all comes down to being selfish. Look at the financial crimes. It's people being greedy. My mom used to tell me when I was working at Kentucky Fried Chicken in Wiener Schnitzel making $3 an hour that I was rich. She said, do you know how many grown men don't make what you're making right now? And I'm thinking to myself, $3 is nothing. But every time I came home, I'm hammered with that. You're rich. Look at how much money you make. Look at all this. And so people call me cheap to this day, probably because of my mom. So it was just strong values that weren't just told to you. Matter of fact, she never really spelled them out verbally to you. She would tell you stories and you'd get in trouble or get rewarded for exhibiting those values. And it was a constant. It was every day, pounded into your head, every second of every day, and she never wavered. And that's what our kids need. You can't just tell them something and expect them to do it. You have to show them
Father,
to.
we just thank you so much. There's no name above your name. I wouldn't serve any other name. Yeah, sure, Mashiach.
There's power in the name.
All right. Pretty good video. Okay. And kind of just about basically what we were talking about, almost hit every point. So what were some of the things that stood out to you in that video? Because we're talking about values, setting that atmosphere. And if you notice, in each situation, he was kind of drawn back to what his mother said.
Every situation.
Yeah, every situation.
Everything was back to
Right.
the mother.
I mean, whether it was drugs, whether it was school, whether it was just basically doing the right thing, everything went back to what? That value system. And he said certain things they just didn't talk about because it was just, they knew it was just expected. Why? It set that atmosphere, right? It's like when you walk into the library, you know not to blast your music. Why is that? You don't have to be told that. The atmosphere the atmosphere just speaks of what? Silence, studying, studious, right? It's like, you don't have to have that much common sense to know that. And that's why? Because the climate is set that way, right? You go in the library, people be talking loud. When all of a sudden they go to the library, most people will be, their tone just automatically goes down, right? Why? And that same thing, within our social environment, right? There should be a climate set, an atmosphere set there. He said something really important about his friends. And he qualified his friends as those that were looking out for his best interests, right? If I had a friend that said, hey, smoke this or drink this, hey, if you're my friend, you want the best one, right? A friend is going to want you to be in good health, right? Friend is not going to try to enable you in an addiction and get you caught up in something negative, right? Or what do you say? Violate your core values. A real friend's not going to do that. So a lot of times we got to take an assessment, and that's why you said that walk, that thinking, who are my friends? Do I need to get new friends? Right? Because he said, his friends are always there for support. Even in a gang-related neighborhood, right? He found those core good friends.
Yeah, that's something that stuck out too. Was that
Yeah.
they said that when he became a cop, that his friends were going to leave him.
Yeah.
I mean, and then when he went back and told him he was going to be a cop, he was like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna be a cop, all right."
Yeah, that's right. Because he said, well, that's the neighborhood I was from. And I remember I was a young man living in South Los Angeles, and it was a very violent neighborhood. But my core friends, very positive. You probably think we're squares, right? It's like, you having Bible study here and gunshots and stuff like that. We're over here there in the 80s, right near South Central. But it was like, people say, oh, man, you're living in that area. You didn't see it like that, like everybody else saw it. Everybody's like, man, that's just, they're talking about the, the horrible stuff going down. And, we're involved in the, the church youth group and, other friends and just positive activities going on. So it's like almost in two different worlds, right? Because your atmosphere. I didn't have friends that were janky, trying to get over on you. All my friends, in that area at that time when I was living there were very supportive.
Well, that's something that I've noticed too, being somebody that's used drugs and become part of that drug-using society.
Right.
But once you stop, all of a sudden you don't see them as much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Magically, they're not all around you. There's other people.
Right. And like I couldn't tell you who the drug dealers were at the area because I wasn't involved in that lifestyle. Right? I couldn't tell you. Now, most other people would say, well, that's a drug house, that's drug, and everything like that. But that's not what I was looking for.
I'm looking
for the positive. No, I was in the 80s. See, I was in the 80s. Yeah, I was in the 80s before the riots. Yeah. But it was. But like you said, the climate even in that area was set positive. You see, but when we have a lot to do with how we cultivate that, correct? So, like I said, and he kept hitting that back, going back to that. First of all, his mom set that climate, right? Then you notice how it's a domino effect, in a good way. So he searched out friends with like-minded values, right? And then, that whole support system. He said the support system started out at home, right? Then what did he learn there? He learned how to build his own support system. Now, were there negative friends and negative people in Oak Park? Yeah. But he said, I was looking for the positive. Because some people will just take a paintbrush and paint a whole area. It's all negative. They're all gangsters. They're all, this and that and that. That's not true. It's not true. So I want to hear from you now. What were some things that kind of stuck out? Because, he hit on the parenting, even dealing with employment, right? Personal development, all types of things. And like I said, he credited his mom for all this.
He must have said his mom, the word mom 100 times.
Yeah, you notice all that.
Yeah.
That's why I named it My Mother Never Gave Up.
Yeah.
Right?
But,
he hit on that consistently.
Something that stuck out to me was the gamble she took when she finally got fed up and said, I don't believe you.
Right.
And that actually worked.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, that was high risk. It's a high risk technique, but it worked. Got his attention.
There's nothing to lose now.
It got his attention. Right. She developed that relationship with him. And you know what they say? What do they say? They say, what do they say? It is, let me think for a second. Discipline without relationship produces rebellion. You get that?
As a parent?
Discipline without relationship equals rebellion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean when I say that?
Yeah, you just always tell them no.
Yeah.
Tell them what they did.
Right.
I noticed that in my house, right? Because there's another kid that lives there beside my son.
Yeah.
And he'll get disciplined, but she won't tell him what he did, right?
Right.
And he'll continue acting out.
Yeah.
Where my son, I'll put him in the corner, right? And
Yeah.
then I'll come bring him in front of me, and I'll make him look me in my eyes, right? Because I don't want him looking around.
That's
I'll
good.
tell him that's respect.
That's
You know,
good.
tell him
That's good.
Respect, right? And I'll tell him what he did wrong. you know?
Right.
And then he doesn't do it as often.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, same with my kid. I explain. I mean, they know I come from every. I talk to my kids, you know, kind of. I explain it to them like I'm explaining to this with this situation from all angles. You know, they're 4 and 5 years old. Listen to me. I'm like, but they understand it. I make sure that you understand what I'm saying. I mean, I explain it to a way they can understand
Your
it.
kids are 4 and 5?
Like I said, when my kids were 4 and 5, I got
But they're older now, right?
Yeah, they're older now. But I still explain. I got a 17-year-old now, and I got a 7-year-old, and I have a 1-year-old. And even my 1-year-old, I'll explain. Look, just, he'll look at me, and people are like, he doesn't understand. I'm saying I'll talk to him just regular. Yeah. But guess what? He'll go, okay.
Yeah.
But he understands. I said no, because even if they don't understand my words, he understands my tone.
Right.
And I'll just talk to him. Look, you can't do that. You can't be selfish. You understand how you. But I'll just talk to him like I know he understands me, even though I know he doesn't understand full English. But guess what? He picks up on my tone of voice. Right. And I'll talk to him like I'm just talking to anybody. No, you can't do this. This is why. Look at me. This is why. But he gets it. You'll see a behavioral change, though. He'll acknowledge that. Sometimes we think, like you said, people think kids are dumb, but kids are really intelligent. They observe things. Right?
They learn more than we do in the day.
Exactly. I mean, not trying to compare a kid to a dog, but like you talk to a dog, dogs don't understand English, but you talk to them in a certain tone of voice.
That's what I was thinking when you said that.
They understand, right?
Yeah.
They know not to potty on the floor. No, get out of their boundaries, and after a while, you just speak that tone a little bit. They're going the other direction. Right. They said not calling my kid a dog or anything like that, but that's what I was thinking. But it's communication. What do they say? They say it's only 10% what you say, 90% how you say it. That's what communication is. Only 10% of what you say, 90%
that's what sucks
of how
about
you say
texting.
it. Yeah. And I spoke to my daughter because she's a good kid, but sometimes I notice that little attitude, and I don't let her get away with it. I said no. I said I explained that to her. Well, I just said that. I said it's the way you said it. What do you mean? I say you're animated through your actions. You're communicating through how you animate your voice tone and your body language. And that's you gotta learn that. You get out there, have a job, a relationship, and things like that. I told him I would do it, but how'd you say it? And I'll do it. Yeah, you said it, right? And a lot of times people explain back to you what they said about a boss, but they don't explain to you all the time how they said it.
Right.
And we've done that too, man. Yeah, I just said this. Well, that doesn't sound bad. And they just tripped out when you said it that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just tripped out. It went off. But you didn't say how you said it. Right? So it's 10% what we say, 90% how we say it. And that's important even on the job.
He knows I'm serious. I'll tell him, see my serious face?
Yeah. See, there it is.
Catches his attention.
Right. And you got to break it down. We talk, especially, kids, and they can't understand that. And, but like I said, you want to give them the big picture. A lot of people don't want to give them the big picture. I mean, I break it all the way down. This is why you need to behave. When you don't behave, this could happen. That can happen. I draw back in old stories of friends and everything. And they see the whole picture. They know a lot of my stories. But I make sure they're going to internalize it. I never just say, don't do that. I explain, you don't do that because of this. I'll even take in scriptures. I'll put a scripture on the board in my house, right? The other day, I said, okay, you need to write this down 30 times, right? Internalize it. Then, because my son has a habit of sometimes he'll try to pretend like he doesn't hear you. No, I know he hears me. And I said, okay, well, since you can't hear me, I guess you need written instructions. And so guess what? He's learning, though, now to be more attentive, right? But at the same time, I got him internalizing those values, right? That's the consequence. I mean, same with my daughter. I'll say, okay, oh, you don't understand. I need you to write me a 7-page essay on this. I take everything, internet, anything. So when you get that done, I'm going to read it, proofread it. We're going to discuss it, and we'll see if we're going to get your privileges back. So, but I do that. Why do you think I do that? I want to make sure she understands, what's going on. Why I gave her that consequence, right? And we have a discussion, and I said, do you understand that? Well, repeat it back to me. And then once I'm able to see and comprehend that she understands it, okay, then we can move forward. Okay, you can have your privileges back maybe tomorrow, the next day. You see? So, but like I said, you got to be that fair, firm, and consistent. But like I said, it goes down the valley. And you can't make a kid obey you, even when they leave. They have a free will, right? We know that. But at the same time, I tell them, I'm just, when I stand before God, I want to know that he's going to know that I laid down the foundation of those values. You have a choice to do whatever you want to do. That's how we have as human beings. We have a free will, right? But I don't want to be held accountable for not teaching you that. I can only hope that what I've taught you influences you, right? But you're not going to be able to point back on me and say I didn't teach you that. And I pray that you will follow it, right? Because we know that people have a free will. But like I said, within my good conscience, I know, okay, I've taught that. I've held them accountable. That's my job. As parents, right, we're supposed to hold our children accountable. At the same time, as adults, we're supposed to hold our own selves accountable, right? And that's what good friends will do. We talk about having that positive support group. A positive support group are individuals that's going to hold you accountable. I got friends of mine that I put in my life to hold me accountable. Check in on me, see how I'm doing. If I'm having a challenge, hey man, I need some prayer, I'll call them. I got friends I can call. We get together, we pray. Sometimes they join me on my prayer walks. The other day, we had 3 of us walking, doing a prayer walk. Right? Found out they had some challenges too. Okay, we're going to pray for you, we're going to pray for you, we're going to pray for you. We talk about it. I mean, no, that's power in that. Right? A lot of times they have some insight they can give you, or a resource or something like that. That really helps out. But what he kept saying, that positive support base. You need a team. You got to create a team. You got to create a team. And it's like you can't be that one, like I said, you're paddling upstream and you got 3 of your friends paddling the other way. And that's what a lot of people do. A lot of people with great potential. They don't get that revelation. And you got people that don't, like I said, aren't really maybe as mentally gifted, but they put their resources together, and man, they're successful. Why? Because they know how to take the little they do have and make good use out of it. And they're more successful than the person that got, more than enough mental capacity, I mean, what they say, we only use less than 10% of our brain anyway, right? Some people could take that 1% and make real good use of it, right? So, but what do you have to say about that? That video. What were some things that you could say? I could take away from that video, or that's something that maybe has reinforced a belief I already had, or what are some things that you think you could? I mean, I think all of us could take away from that. I learned a lot. I like watching that video. I've watched that video more than one time, and it's helped me to to share with others, and even just for my own self. That's a good principle.
I think the main thing that stuck out was like his mom, right? Being a single mother, Like you said, a mother can't raise a man.
Right.
I mean, but yet she did,
That was a good one. Yeah. See.
Like my mom, she raised 4 kids, and she did the best she could.
Right.
I mean, but like you said, I was one of the rebellious ones. I always did what I wanted to do.
Right.
And I got involved with a lot of shit real early.
Right.
In life, because my dad's house was it was a dope house.
Right.
And I spent more time there than I did at my mom's.
And see that right there, your mom taught the good values.
Yeah.
There was a division. I mean, what does the Bible say? Where the house is divided, the kingdom will fall, And see, that's what happened. Like I said, there was a division there. And then, like you said, part went good, part went bad. But that's, if both parents had been, on the same accord with that value system, you know, that might have turned out differently for you. And see, now you know, okay, what that's like you were sharing with me earlier.
Yeah.
Well, this is, you know, I've learned. That's what he was saying. You know, we learn from our mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Even his mom said that. Hey, you learn from your mistakes. Correct? Learn from your mistakes. So that's key right there.
Yeah,
That's
like
powerful.
The core values still stick in, you know. Like,
Yeah.
like I was telling you before, my mom taught me to respect your elders, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Always look out for the kids, because like her house, even though all the kids came there, they might have smoked weed or drank or whatever, right? And like when my brother died,
I'm sorry to
he
hear about
stuck
that.
weed
Yeah.
and stuff in his casket, and
Right.
some of the parents was tripping off of that.
Mm.
And they got, you know, jammed my mom up, like, why are you letting them do this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She said, where would you rather her put it? In his casket or in their lungs or in their bodies?
That's a different way to look at
And
it.
so, you know, they shut a lot of them up. You know?
Right.
And like her house, like all the kids used to come there, stay at skip school or whatever, you know what I mean? They go to my mom's house.
Yeah.
And the whole reason she allowed that is because she'd rather be at her house than on the street.
Right.
You know, out running the street. You know, so she allowed a lot of things that other parents wouldn't. You know what I mean? But she still had the values. The house was never messed up. You know, if she came home from work and the house was thrashed, she'd go off.
Mhm.
I mean, everybody be in trouble.
Right.
You know, kids. You know, they all.
Well,
call
she has
them
some
out.
standards. Yeah, she has some
standards, right? And a lot of parents just kind of trip off of her. You know, like, why do you do this? And she says, look, you want your kid out there running the street committing crimes,
Right.
or you want him here sitting inside my house? You know.
Mhm.
And they're like, well, you ain't there. She says, so what? You
Mhm.
know. He said, my kids are there. My older son shows up when he's home, you know. Whenever I was out of prison, I'd show up, you know what I mean? And I used to go over and make sure they didn't do nothing really stupid, you know. I mean, there's a couple times they was, and, you know, we stopped them from it, you know.
Right.
And then so it was like there was always values. She always had the values and set rules and regulations around.
And like you said, you got to make those known, because I mean, one
Yeah.
thing he said, you know, a man has integrity. She told me a man has integrity. What's integrity?
I couldn't take
Well, give me an example. Anybody have an example of integrity?
We call it doing the right thing when nobody's looking.
Perfect.
That's it.
That's exactly that. It is right there. For example, you know, let's say you're at your job. You put a quarter in to the vending machine. All of a sudden, that vending machine starts releasing stuff out like a jackpot. Right? You know, let's say $10 comes out in change. Now you can look at it two ways. Woohoo! You know, that literally, yeah, that literally happened to me on the job, right? It literally happened on the job where, you know, and when I was at the Department of Corrections, right, and then somebody else was with me, my coworker, and I'm not trying to put brownie points, but I'm just saying that, you know, like I say, because the way I was raised, first thing he did, man, that's what I'm talking about. I said, nah, bro, we can't. Just go and put this envelope, take it to comm center. And he's kind of laughed. He thought I was joking, right? Now, come on, man. But and I'm not saying that to boast like I'm just this goody two-shoes, but I'm just saying, no, really, it was just an immediate conviction within my heart, like, hey, we got to take this up, you know, call the number, and let these people know, put it in the envelope. I said, get envelopes, put this in and give it to them. And they were kind of he was kind of laughing, but then a while he looked like, man, you serious, huh? Right? Yeah, man, you know what I'm saying?
It's like if they give you too much change back at the store. You know,
exactly, man.
Come on, when you don't,
yeah.
when nobody's going to know.
Right. I mean, like you said, I mean, there's a few core values, like you said, you know. I mean, like I said, not only that's integrity is a sin, but you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, that's one thing I believe. That's one thing I tell my kids. Hey, you get under maybe this legal radar, but you don't get under that radar.
And then, I mean, like the official definition would be like the integrity of a building. How strong is the foundation?
There it is.
You know.
That's right.
How is the integrity going to hold up? You know, when you're in an earthquake. And that's the same thing with our body. I mean,
that's
our
right.
Integrity, how strong is it when it's tested?
That's a good way to put it. So now looking at that, we're going into this React module, right? And like you said, we want to lay out that foundation. As we talked about, the foundation are the core values. Like I said, this React module will not work. You can get all this down, have it memorized. It's not going to work unless the values are in place. That's a prerequisite. You got to have the values in place.
Is this the same thing as a beer module?
Well, it's similar. It's all relates together. It's all interconnected.
This one's all
Okay?
longer.
It's all connected, yeah. But see, the bear value is basically you got to understand your beliefs, right? right? And so your beliefs have to be tied in to the relax. You know, we're looking at the REACT module, and basically we're going to go over it real quickly, and we're going to break it down. Let me get my big head out the way. Okay. So basically, REACT module. And this is kind of, you know, in situation when life catches you off guard. All right? A lot of different situations. Because like I said, life happens fast, right? And most people get in trouble based on what?
Reactions.
Their reactions. Pre-programmed beliefs, right? A lot of times they're pre-programmed beliefs. You know? And like I said, I worked in domestic violence, a unit at the jail. Hey, she slapped me, I slapped her back. Right? It was just a reaction. I didn't mean to that, but that's how they were raised. That was the culture. Right? Grew up in that culture. You know, I'm a gangster, I'm a thug, or hey, this is what not even that. This is what my dad did. Right? You know, you don't let no woman just get over on you like that. You know, she want to treat you like a man, you know, or she going to act like a man, then I'm going to treat her like a man. How many of you heard that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, yeah, that sounds good. A lot of people buy into that belief.
That's what they call a principle that they live by.
Yeah, that sounds good, right? She hit me. She want to get down like a dude. She going to talk more. She going to get dealt with like a dude.
Yeah.
All right? But that puts a lot of people in the jail system. Right? And get a lot of people with brothers after them and everybody else, family members, right? But they got to leave town. How many know that's not a good belief system? Okay? So those are pre-programmed beliefs. Dealing with the bear system, right? We have to analyze that. You analyze those beliefs. Is that a proper belief to have? No. You know? So, like I said, my belief, no matter if somebody disrespects me, I'm going to treat them with respect no matter what. Right? No matter what. Now, that doesn't mean you just be a punching bag to somebody.
But sometimes that's hard, though. Somebody start calling out your name, it's hard.
Yeah. But remember that one belief we talked about? Never let nobody define who you are.
Yeah.
See, that's a belief system I live. I'm not going to let this person define who I am. Right? Like you say I don't have $10 in my pocket. I know I got $10 in my pocket. Right?
You gotta prove nothing to nobody.
Yeah. And then, like I say, going back to my value system, the Bible says a wise man overlooks an insult. A fool is annoyed at once. So I have to think to myself, do I want to be a fool or do I want to be a wise man? God says I'm a wise man if I overlook that insult. But I could be a fool. But see, but see, nowadays in certain cultures, it's good to be a fool. Man, you a fool. Yeah, no, you know, right? Man, that boy is straight fool. And people will get pumped up like they like to be called a fool. Mm-hmm. You know, especially when I worked at the department, man, that boy's a fool. Man. And they get pumped up off that. Like, yeah, I get stripes for being a fool. You're a beast. I'm a beast. A beast doesn't think, right? A beast falls in traps all the time. You set traps for a beast. Because beast just goes off instinct. That's why it's easy to set traps and then to get caught up on stuff. Man, you're a beast. Yeah, I'm a beast. Now it's a whole big thing. You know, you see that even in mainstream pop and R&B, and it's all about being a beast. Well, if you're a beast, you move off instinct. You really don't think. Right? Then you get put in a cage like a beast. If you have a beast mentality. And there's some people think, well, I get my stripes, I'm in a cage. And that's how, you know, I'd have individuals, I remember telling me, I had one guy on my caseload, trying to get plans for him. He's like, no, I want to go to, and you know, this I'm working with 18 to 25-year-olds. No, I want to go to Pelican Bay. Pelican Bay? He said, well, I want to go to San Quentin, Pelican Bay, Falls. I had a couple guys tell me this. Why?
These are his dreams and aspirations.
Yeah, no, they're telling me, no. And they're serious. No, I need to go.
Yeah.
I need to go. And I'm looking at them, no. Why do you need to go? Because my dad went there, and my grandfather went there. I need to go there. And you know what these guys would attack, stab somebody, and they would tell me what they needed to do. I got to go. I got to go to Folsom. I got to go to San Quentin. I need to get the tattoos when I get there. Because he said, when I get out, I'll have respect. And one guy said, I want to die on death row. And he was serious. His street name was Criminal. Spoke it into him. He was proud of that name, Criminal. You know, his record validated he was a criminal, right? He kept doing it, but see, who do I blame? I mean, that was his family that was calling him criminal. His parents set the value system for him. Son, his father told him, I need you to go to these prisons. The family legacy needs you to do these prisons. Okay? And he was dead serious. And you know what? He ended up going to those. Well, I knew at least one of those prisons. And he was happy. I remember when he committed assault, and he's just as happy as I don't know what, thinking his dad's, and that's sad, thinking his dad's going to be so proud of him. And I'm like, wow, ain't that sad? And one guy was torn. I remember I was talking to this Fresno Bulldog, and he was torn between, he wanted to do right, but he didn't want to let down his father. His father wanted him to continue on with his correctional career, to go further advance his correctional, achievements. Okay, son, you're at Chad. That's good. That's the roughest youth authority. Okay, we need you to go now to Folsom or, San Quentin. And he's thinking about this, and he's like stressing out. My dad wants me to go here. So he's trying to. We're in counseling, trying to. Okay,
Bulldogs ain't allowed to use it in prisons.
Yeah, but he wanted. He needed to go there. Actually, I got a story. I think in my book. He wrote something for me. It's actually in my book.
I remember one time I went to the jail here. This youngster came in.
Yeah.
Must have been just fresh 18, no hair on his face, nothing else, skinny. All of a sudden he goes to the door, starts hollering to the mod next door, and his dad is the mod worker over there, and real well known, been in prison, all the tattoos, and he's the mod worker in there, like, I love you, son, and he's like, how's mom doing? Oh man, the feds got mom at court the other day, Dad,
Oh wow.
Yeah. It's like the whole family's in jail, and I remember I knew this guy a little bit from the streets, and he used to tell us open. I used to kind of looked up to him, respected him, but I was just like, I don't know, I lost respect for him there. I was like, man.
Oh man, you got some people there.
Because they were like proud of it. They were like,
oh yeah, you got. I see cultures in there, and I can tell the father, the grandfather been in prison, and they're just so content and locked up. I mean, they are just content. They're talking about what prison they want to go to, and man, I can't wait to get out of here to go to Folsom. You got this. I mean, they're talking about you're going to college. Man, you got this program, and you get to stay out your room all day. And man, I'm telling you, I mean, you get canteen like this, and I mean, they're talking like they're literally going to college. I mean, and they're looking forward.
And
because we have guys that come back from Folsom, San Quentin, back to the youth, because I tell them they'll do a crime within, so they'll go to Folsom and stuff, and then they come back to Chad. Man, it's better over there. I'm telling you, the guys are excited. Really?
I've been thinking about that a little bit recently, about the two different worlds, because when you go to jail, you get a bunkie, and a lot of people aren't used to that, and you end up being close to them. But then when you go to college, you get a dorm and you get a bunkie.
Yeah.
And it's just like two different worlds, but kind of the same thing.
Right.
But for a positive and a negative. You know what I mean?
But see, based on their value system, for some people that's a good thing, and unfortunately, but they have corrupt value systems, and I have to understand that as a counselor when I work with people like that, I mean, if you grew up like that, I can't just say you're dumb and you're not. No, I'm not just saying this is how this kid grew up. He thinks he's selling out if he listens to me. My job is to show him the big picture.
Well, that's the thing. They really don't see anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
That's normal.
So I got to show them the big picture. I can't fault the kid for having that type of view if he's raised like that.
Yeah, that's just normal.
Right, he's raised like that. So I got to be patient, more patient maybe with this person. And a lot of times I'll say, okay, this guy knows better, right? But this individual, I look at the case file and I'll talk to him. I say, okay, I can understand. I'm gonna have a little more patience with this individual, right? Because I mean, he's been entrenched in this. This person just acted out, wanted to act bratty or whatever have you. He knows better because he's been able to articulate what he did and why he did it and everything like that. So I'm gonna have a little less, mercy and grace for this person as far as this person. Because I have to work with it. I'm not saying I just let them go, but I'm saying I'm still going to hold them accountable at the same time. My consequences might be, a little different. Because I like to have them write papers too sometimes. I was known for that. You're going to have to write this down and all that. And then, I would kind of work that out. Because I want them to really understand. I don't like just giving the consequences and they don't understand what they did. Right? I said, well, we're going to have a counseling session along with this. And then we'll talk, but they appreciate that a lot of times, because like I said, sometimes they had no idea. You show them that big picture. But anyway, back to the module. We're looking at the React module. Let's take that for example. You get slapped in the face, right? Let's say for the fellas, your girlfriend or wife just pow, slaps you in the face, right? If you, like I said, if you haven't dealt with that bear process, right, and you grew up with that belief, a woman that acts like a man, hits a man, needs to get dealt with a man, right, those results are going to be bad all the way around, correct? So first, why do we relax?
Let me ask you something. As a Christian man, good, outstanding citizen, and all your core beliefs, and a good guy, and worked in jails and stuff. I mean, what's your belief? You never hit a woman, even if she attacks you, even if it's not your wife. I mean, I'm just curious as to your belief.
No, I would not have hit a woman. I wouldn't say I wouldn't restrain a woman.
Yeah, that's all I was going to say.
Yeah,
I wouldn't hit one.
Yeah,
I'll put it in a lock and
Chris Rock said, I won't hit her, but I'll shake the shit out of her.
Yeah. Well, I'll gently restrain. I know how to restrain somebody without hurting them. Right? I've been trained to restrain people without hurting them. Right? I mean, I've actually been in where somebody's gotten, aggressive with me out in the community where I had to restrain them. Now I could have did something else, but I said, no, I'm just gonna restrain. I remember being at a pizza place and somebody just totally for no reason, just tried to come at me, and I didn't know this person, gangster dude, and he just came, but he came real near me in my personal space. Like he's gonna grab me, and I just restrained him in the parking lot. But like I said, I just stayed calm. Now I could have been, but I talked to him calm, right? And no, like you said, but when I let him up, he just kind of looked at me like this, but it was peaceful. Now, if I could have been raw and yelling and that's what you get, and and all that, and then just disrespected him, right? I'm like, hey man, hold on, I just talked to him calmly. Hey, right?
So you had a man or woman basically.
Yeah. Well, exactly. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is, because that comes back on you. Now if I got all prideful, now he's gonna feel played, right?
Right. So who the guy?
Yeah. You're gonna be, oh man, he disrespected me, played me. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know what's going on, man. I don't know what's doing. What you doing?
Retaliation.
Exactly. He just got up and just kind of went his way.
Because the people.
Yeah, because I didn't do nothing. He just came at me. I didn't know what happened. Like my friends sitting there, like, what? What was that about? Right? I don't know, maybe I looked like somebody didn't like or whatever, have you? But I remember, like I said, that was just a weird situation. It was a weird, it was a weird. it was just a weird situation that had happened to me. Yeah, it was kind of a weird situation. I'm like, I don't know what that was about. Okay, but anyway, like I said, so we relax. Like I said, if we have that program, okay, I need to relax. Why do I need to relax? Because when you relax, you think clear, correct? Remember we talked about Bruce Lee, why he go, why would he do that? Yeah, because he wants to get people frustrated. Because when you're frustrated, remember we talked about? It throws you off. And what does it do? It makes people angry. And some of you know that have been students of fighting. When you get angry and you tense up, you're 30% slower. You understand? And then when you grip, and then sometimes you could tell, like we used to be able to assess people, okay, he's gripping his fist. This guy really doesn't know what he's doing. Right? Because he's putting 30% into his hands. I know he's 30% slower and 30% weaker. Right? And that's what they would do. That's kind of be a sign how you know who you're dealing with. You see somebody that knows how to fight, you assess, okay, he's loose. This guy knows what he's doing. Right? So you relax. You're able to perceive that, kind of look at the big picture. Right? You relax. You can make your decisions. You can kind of plan out things. Right? And a lot of times, and like I said, they've proven even when you bench press, when you relax, you could probably bench press 30% more. People think that's kind of weird. No, you have to grab the bar. No, when you grab the bar, again, you lose 30% of your strength.
That's what I always thought.
Yeah. No. Because think about it. You're exerting.
Your hands open.
You keep it open, and then you just kind of keep your palms and maybe just kind of guide it. You're able to go stronger, right? You have to lift more. I mean, same thing mentally, though. It's the same thing mentally. But that's the first thing, like I said, Bruce Lee, even Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
Talks mess.
Yeah. Taunting them.
Michael Jordan, known as the biggest trash talker in basketball. And see, people get mad when they're covering them, right? They get stiff. Because he's talking about their mama, they're talking about everything, and all of a sudden, boom, and he just jukes the person. Why? Because the person's all stiff. See, if he's loose, he can move quicker with them. But then he just drives right past them. Right? He talks about both of them. And all of a sudden, they're just getting mad, then he made them slower. He's able to mobilize through them and make the hoop. See, he understands it's a mental game. You see? So that's one of the benefits of relaxing. Because like I said, they also say, when people take tests and they're not relaxed, most people fail tests because they're not relaxed. Because they tense up and it stops the flow. Right? Your brain flow a lot. Yeah. So you can't remember things. People get blocks. But when you're relaxed, you can memorize things. What does it do? It releases your right brain. Just that's why people meditate a lot of times. Why? Because you relax the left brain, your right brain kicks in. Remember we said your right brain's where all that hard drive data is. You understand? Next one is to evaluate the situation and focus. So when you're relaxed, you can evaluate, right? Mm-hmm. The situation, okay, I just been hit. Right? Okay. Now, am I going to no? I don't believe in that belief system anymore. I'm not going to treat her like a man. She's a woman. Right? Now, you might not need to restrain her because she done slapped you and walked away. Right? Or staying in her space. So, no, you don't need to restrain her. Just say, okay, calm down. Maybe take a walk, go outside the door. Say, look, I'll text her. And when we're ever talk about, we'll talk about this over the phone. It's not a safe place for me to come back. Let's talk about this, maybe through text or on the phone first, and then let's, decide to maybe meet up at a coffee shop or something to talk this out, if you're willing. You might not want to be with the person anymore. This woman just slapped me. You might be dating her like, I don't want to be around a woman that's violent like this, right? So you done relax, you evaluate the situation. I don't even want to be a part of this. I'm just going to remove this relationship out of the equation, right? Okay, A is apply options and strategies within a positive value system to the scenario. What is that? Okay? I'm willing to listen. Why did you do that? Right? Okay? Maybe in Paul, she asked for you, like said, she's talking this, she says she's sorry. In my value system, okay, I forgive you, but this can't happen again. Right? We got to handle this in a better way. I'm sorry if I offended you, but I didn't deserve that. We got two more, bro. Almost done. I'm going to go over this real quick. C, consider pros and cons of each option. So before you even get there, you're thinking, okay, if I react on my old belief process, what's going to happen? I'm probably going to go to jail, have a domestic violence case, get a restraining order. That's not going to look good on the job. I'm not going to feel good with my conscience. This could lead to other issues, right? She might get her brother, who's a gangster, coming after me, trying to kill me for the rest of my life. That's not a good thing, right? But the Bible says, my value is a soft answer turns away wrath. So even a soft action can turn away wrath. Last one is T, right? Once you evaluate the situation, you relax, you evaluate it, you apply the options and strategies. And like I said, each scenario is different, okay? C, consider the pros and cons of each option. Because sometimes we have a longer time to consider things. Sometimes it's split of second we got to decide. That's why you got to have your mindset right. Next is T, is you take action, okay? You feel confident about that. And the more you do this, but like I said, the key is play scenarios in your mind. Play a scenario like that. If that's an issue, play the scenario in your mind. Okay, what if a woman did slap me? What if a guy got in my face and just talked mess? Respond in your mind the way you would want to respond in real life. Do that over and over. Somebody, you were at the state fair. Man, you a punk. Think about how you can respond in an appropriate way. You practice that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to talk about that next week. Visualization, the power of visualization. Okay? Like I said, real quick, last thing. But, even the top playing I think it was the Lakers. Before they would go out and play, for that season, they would sit in a room like this for like an hour. And he would just have individuals, the coach would have individuals just visualize them doing plays they never did before, taking shots they didn't think they could take before. Why do you think they would have them do that? Just plan out different scenarios in their mind.
Keep it projected in their mind, because when they step on
the
court,
and give more confidence.
There it is, because you could practice in your mind. Did you know that?
They must have forgot to do that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
everything you do comes up from here.
There it is.
Can you leave that there so I can write it?
Yeah, I sure can. I'm gonna leave this. Let me get out your way.
This controls everything in your
There it
mind.
is. That's right. Okay. All right.
Where your mind goes, the body will follow.
All right. So we're gonna maybe just touch on this some more next week, and just kind of maybe draw out some more little different scenarios. Because like I said, each scenario is different. Like I said, not everything works like a cookie cut. Okay.
Yeah, there's exceptions there.
Yeah, exceptions. But like I said, all these components work. So
right.
Some things, like I said, but like I said, if you get these instilled in your belief system, and you got peers that align with your values, with your strategies, with your how many of you know that it's a lot easier to do it then? See, if this is automatic, if this is reflex, see, this needs to be reflex, right? Same thing in sports. You practice it over and over, it becomes reflex.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm going to stop talking before Simmy can get on me.
All right. We're done for tonight.
All right, we learned something today.
Yeah.
Good, all right.
I also liked in that video to have your bags packed.
Have your bags packed.
Be
See,
ready.
that's a value system, right? That's a value. Be prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
There it is there. There'd be a lot of gang members used to say that too. Stay ready, so to get ready. Why are you sleeping with your shoes on? Stay ready.
Right. See you guys. We'll have Keith tomorrow talking about some more lighting and some different things and energy auditing. And you're not going to be here tomorrow. Okay. All right.